Funk Soul Brother, chuck a duck. Oh man, you just put a microphone in front of me.
Makes it different.
No, it takes me back to Koshwa's basement at 2 o'clock in the morning. His mom coming down. Damn it, Jeff, shut the fuck up. Because I was on the microphone just like, dum, 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 dum. I'm telling you, like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right about now. Funk Soul Brother. Are you ready for this?
These are freaking awesome, bro.
It's hard to do a bad picture in here.
Golly. And I'm jazzed I'm in this historic building.
Like, yeah.
That's what's really making my buddy
Yeah, it's
my
1920s.
day.
The end of the 20s.
See, before I got more knowledgeable in world history and like more, basically I just did a whole bunch of American history. So I could say I have my history degree specializing in American history because that's, everyone's like, oh, I got this specializing in, So I can say I would probably have to say, because all the classes I took, bro, well, I don't know. We'll leave that for the show, right?
Yeah. Well, this can be the show.
Oh.
Are you ready to get going?
Did you already start?
Yeah. Well, it's been rolling since I turned it on.
Oh.
Like, there's kind of not a formal introduction,
Intro.
but I'll
Okay.
make one.
Cool. Are you going
Right.
to play? Do you still have that same music?
Yeah.
I love that music, bro.
I'll start
Okay.
right now. How's that sound?
All right.
That also makes things different.
What does?
Just the intro and making it official.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
See, I've never done this. I've never seen the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I've only seen, now I'm like literally behind the scenes, but
You're
in the
scene.
chair.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Right on, Jeff.
I might be
welcome.
sniffly.
Welcome, Jeff, to the podcast.
Thank you. It's good to
So-
be here.
Yeah. So we were chatting about how to start this off. It doesn't really have to be a certain way, but you and I met in 1996, I believe,
Yes, sir.
in Auto Shop.
Yeah, man. Mr.
And-
Tomlinson.
Yeah.
He couldn't say aluminum.
No, we couldn't. Heck yeah. And the way we met was, as I recall, somebody was making a joke about Adam Sandler and his comedy CD.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember which skit you guys were talking about, but I had just listened to that whole CD. I didn't know anybody yet. I didn't talk to anybody yet until I heard you guys saying that joke, and then I piped up, and then you and me struck a friendship that lasted from then till now.
Okay.
And we hung out and did all our shenanigans together,
Yeah.
and parted ways probably around 98, 99.
Yeah, about
I assume.
99. Yeah, because I joined the Navy. Left
But-
in 2000.
Never lost track of each other. I was thinking
sir.
about it yesterday. I guess I kept track of you on Facebook a little bit in some of the meantime, but we really didn't see each other for years until 2017
Yep.
again.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of story there from 99 till now I don't know about.
Yeah. There's bits and pieces, I guess, huh?
Yeah. But one of the cool things, I know you went to the military, to the Navy, and then you got to follow your passion of history and got yourself an education that you just finished up with that.
I did.
And that's awesome. I think
GI Bill, bro.
that's rad.
Yeah.
That qualifies you as being rad at something. So
Awesome.
why don't you tell us a little bit about it, and we'll save the rest of the shenanigans for another show.
All right. That sounds good for me.
Right on.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. 99. Joined the Navy. Left in 2000. Got stationed in Virginia. Pretty much stayed there my whole 20 years. But aviation ordnance, bombs, missiles, guns, started out on the F-14 Tomcats, right? So people, that would be Top Gun 1. And then we transitioned to Super Hornets, which would be Top Gun 2, because that's the aircraft that they use. I kind of wish the Tomcat was still around, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got to do all kinds of different things, go to multiple countries, see different stuff, and then started working on my associate's degree. And I had this really, really cool history teacher, and he kind of inspired me to keep going. So then I finished up, because blessing in the Navy or the military, you can get college credits for even taking the advancement exam. And then they send you to all these schools, right? So like those can count as elective credits. So I actually had enough credits to like get a degree, my associates, but you still have to take like your core classes. So I took, my math, English, science, history, and all that. Then got the associates later, then retired 2020. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do history. So I kind of wanted to do psychology at first, but like everyone and their brother does psychology now. So like, I was like, follow your passion. Like, what do I really want to learn about? So got my history degree I got my associates from St. Leo. I got my bachelor's from UMUC, and then now I got my master's from Liberty.
Nice.
So yeah, so 3 different schools, but it was easy getting the transcripts back and forth. But yeah, so just as I kept delving more and more into history, I just had a passion for it. And lucky for me, I was on the coast. Mm-hmm. So we've been up and down the eastern seaboard looking at anything that's historic or old. Like we went to Charleston, saw like an actual plantation. That's a sobering experience. But in the South, and then going to like, I've been to Monticello, that's Jefferson, and then I've been to Mount Vernon, which is Washington, and then we went to Madison. So it's just interesting to see their property and their style of architecture and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, that's I guess that's pretty much it.
So what did you go to school thinking you would do with the degrees, if anything?
You know what? Actually, I was doing it kind of just for me. Like I already had like a trade and whatnot, so a big part of it's for me. But now that I have it, like I'd like to pursue something in the historical. Like a lot of people are like, oh, you're going to be a teacher, but that's not just what history majors do. Mm-hmm. So what do history majors know how to do? Research. What do we know how to put together? Presentations. Mm-hmm. So lawyers, doctors, and then like museums and whatnot, there's archivists. Because like, the doctor has patients, tons of patients, and they can't research every, case. Mm-hmm. So they have someone has to look it up, right? Mm-hmm. What do they have? They have a team of archivists that dig through medical history and find out what it could be or where it came from and all that. So the doctors, so yeah, it's pretty.
That's how they get to look smart.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody like you back there saying, yeah, this is that.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to try and maybe pursue that one time, or like, I'd even work at a museum. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I think you ought to follow that.
Yeah, I think so. And then when I get like old and gray, I want to be like work at a historical house or something, right? Just be an old tour guide.
Right on. Yeah. Maybe you could buy one.
Maybe.
And take people on tours.
That's right.
Heck yeah.
A lot of people actually do that. They have their own like tours. Well, especially like when we went to Charleston, there was tons of tours, like because there's a lot of independent people. So the guy that we went, he was really, really cool, and he had his doctorate and actually worked at Colonial Williamsburg for a few years. And I don't know if you ever been that way, whatnot, but
Nope, I've never been. I've been to Massachusetts by plane.
Nice.
So I've never driven that way or toured a lot.
Okay. So you got me beat there. I haven't even been to Massachusetts, but
right
my next...
You went everywhere else.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, yeah, I've been all over the place.
Yeah.
Seen some things, learned some things. So, yeah, being rad at history because it was really cool because, like, I grew up in California, and then I moved here in 1993 when I was 13. So, and when my mom came out here, we went and looked at old stuff. She took me to Tuscarora. We went to, Ely. We went to Eureka. We went to all these towns. And she got me interested, kind of like, let's go look at some old stuff.
That's cool.
So, like, I didn't realize history was going to be my thing. I just knew I'd like to go look at old stuff, know? And, like, because it's really cool it's even though it's from like the 1800s and whatnot, maybe early 1900s, the wooden graves, especially like Tuscarora, right? You can't read anything on them,
Yeah.
But like that's just what they had. They didn't have a stonemason. They didn't have all that stuff. Like they had to do what they could.
Yeah.
So, but I thought that was really, really cool. It was, we went and looked at old stuff, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So then I went to the East Coast, and I was like, oh, there's even older stuff, right? Because this is where it began. I mean, I'm in Norfolk, Virginia, Virginia Beach, First Landing, like the historical triangle. Where it all started. Well, permanent English colony. I mean, of course, the Spanish, had Florida and whatnot. So all the major competing countries, right, were trying to colonize this whole new world. But Yeah, so got to see some more old stuff.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and then fast forward, like Navy deployment. I did my first 2 cruises were Westpac, so like the Western Pacific. So I went to like Australia and Hong Kong, Singapore, and then the Persian Gulf. Right, went to like Bahrain and Dubai. So it wasn't until I got stationed. I did a tour on the East Coast called Mediterranean Cruise because you come from Norfolk, Virginia, and you go across the pond, right? And you go and the Mediterranean, the same thing, then go to the Persian Gulf, right? So that was just kind of our thing. But when I got to step foot in Europe and like walking down cobblestones, like in the middle of Marseille, just the middle of the city, you know, walking down the street on these like cobblestone roads that are older than our country. So then I was like, even more old stuff. And then I got to go to a French chateau that was from the 14th century. Just, yeah, man, Europe. That was where the old stuff's at.
Heck yeah.
Obviously why it's the old country. But yeah, man, any kind of history I will be annoying and look at.
That's awesome. Well, that's how you find the things to be rad at. Like,
I do.
it starts as early as you can remember. Mm-hmm. And every time you partake in it anywhere, it's like, yes, this is what I love. So I'm glad you got to recognize your thing.
Me too.
I'm glad you got to delve deep into it. I was just listening to you talk. I was wondering, does the historical stuff you've learned, did it help you understand about being in the Navy and military and wars and things like that?
Absolutely.
Like what happened there, learning some more about history.
History, the wars. The wars really captured my attention because, like, you know, when you're young, you're like, oh, yeah, war. And then when you get older, you're like, war's pointless. Like, right?
Yeah.
So the different perspective from it is, yeah, but actually learning, you know, because my last class was World War II. So that's cool. Got to delve in, you know, like when it's the master's degree, you do like an inch, you know, wide and a mile deep. Mm-hmm. So you get really, really in depth on subject. Like the last paper I just wrote was about Rosie the Riveter, and I was going to do women of industry, right? The teacher says, no, you need to narrow it down. I'm like, all right, cool. So I was like, found this thing about riveters, and I started reading about Rosie the Riveter and all that. And then all of a sudden it was like, there's a lot more updated books now that let you know, hey, by the way, there was Mexican riveters, there was black riveters. So like, you know, the African community, I'm glad like I got to see statistics, right, about that. And then like there's a whole, it's called From Coveralls to Zoot Suits, right? And it's about the Mexican women that were riveters as well. But like everything was wild because everybody knows the iconic Rosie the Riveter. And it was based off of a real woman, right? And like...
That's the only one I ever knew about.
Exactly. So like you really start... history to me is like an onion. Mm-hmm. You can just keep peeling back the layers.
That's cool.
And you just find more and more and more. So
I think it's important to go off and do your own research and figure out what you didn't learn maybe in school or whatever, for what reason or whatever.
Exactly.
It's probably maybe the most important field to be in, I think.
It's for me.
Knowing what we know this day and age.
Yeah.
Kind of important for mankind to know what really happened in history.
Absolutely.
Not just what was digested and served to us.
Exactly.
Like, I appreciate all that.
What they, I dare call it whitewashed. Because our government teaches us what they want us to teach in public school systems.
100%.
Our teachers are, and if our teachers deviate, they're going to get fired.
Right.
So that's what I really enjoyed about college was they're allowed to say what they want to say. And that I learned so much. I was telling you about the history teacher that I had when I was on deployment. He was saying, hey, there's 3 sides to every story. There's my side, there's your side, and there's the truth. Mm-hmm. So I was like, wow. Then he showed us this picture he had in the notebook, and it had some Native Americans in Native dress and some kind of the 1800s, like, you know, garb, right? And but it said Homeland Security, fighting terrorism since 1492. So like if you look at it from that perspective, you know, the whole colonization, how the superpowers of the time were just trying to colonize everything and steal everybody's resources. Just history, like, I don't know, I like history because it's dark, and I like to find the dark stuff of history.
Yeah, we need to know what the truth was
Absolutely.
to maybe know how to not repeat it ourselves, but to know what other
That's-
people might be up to.
You took the words out of my mouth. Actually, as a matter of fact, when you were talking about like learning and whatnot, that's exactly you need to remember where we came from. So like everyone trying to erase this history, if you erase history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
And time again, people have said that, and it's fact.
Yeah.
Like you got to remember what happened.
Definitely seems to be some start over periods that you can find. But yeah, I just want to know what happened. That's just how I feel.
Okay.
Like
Right on.
conspiracies and whatever aside,
See,
I like to know the truth.
Yes, and that's the whole thing is the historian aspect is like you don't have to know everything. You just have to know where to find it.
right.
And that's the same way it was in the Navy too. Was you have these qualifications, but like so for example, being quality assurance, right? You're not going to know that whole plane up and down, but you're going to know how to get in the pub and look for what you need to learn and see what is there, and that's legit because you can go off of that. I mean, it helps, of course, when you get the hands-on training and you understand what you're looking at, right? But that just comes with time and experience.
Yeah. You got to rely on everybody being honest, putting the information in that.
Yeah.
You called that the pub. What does that stand for?
Oh, publication.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
That's all right.
The publication has everything, the schematics, it has every nook and cranny, bolt, and every maintenance procedure, how to fix, how to replace. Like that's the Bible of whatever you're working on.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
So that was written by the manufacturer or something?
Yep. So
Then-
like you
okay.
got Boeing and all them, Northrop, all them. Yep. And then it comes through. It's the pub process like that is actually kind of rigorous, and there's constant updates too. So like your publications actually update quarterly. And now I think they're up to like monthly. So they come out like back in the day, it was all paper. And then whenever there'd be a change to a step, you had to actually like kind of write in like what the change was in pencil. So then once it got into the digital age, now everything is on computers. So like, cause you don't print them out, you actually have tough books and you take the actual tough book to the aircraft and like open it up and that's your pub and everything. So you don't have to like go back to the shop or bring out, cause our paper pubs were thick.
Yeah.
So, and there was multiple volumes, of course.
Yeah.
So,
That's
and then
cool.
being an ordnanceman, that's twice as many as anybody else because we have ordnance checklists as well. How to properly handle the ordnance, how to properly load the ordnance, like how to proper configuration. Because like you can't lift everything by hand. There's some things that you have like ropes and pulley kind of systems that put heavier missiles and heavier bombs on.
Nice. That's cool to have every detail about everything.
It
my,
is.
My line of work is
Yeah.
like what somebody told me and what I can figure out. And some manuals to do some different things. And then there's the way that works that's good enough.
Okay.
But we're not running around flying over the sky in these machines, and it's not that important.
So you said you
it's
could-
okay to crash
it's
once in a while.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
not what you're talking about.
No. I know what you mean though. Like, so when I joined the Tomcat community, right? That was, we had pubs, but we didn't really open them very often because it was all word of mouth. The aircraft been around 30 years, so all the history, all the hard work, all the little bugs, all the little tips and tricks and secrets and stuff, right? Like have already been passed down, and they're not in the pub. So, but that's how you fix it, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does because I live in that world.
Yeah, so that's what you're talking about, right? The same thing. Like you got the backyard mechanic type work, word of mouth. Like this is how you do it, and then I mean you still put it in accordance with whatever publication you were like doing.
Yeah.
But then you could read the pub; it'll tell you like similar procedures, but what actually works is pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you can't dispense with the backyard mechanic.
No,
You
not at
just
all.
can't. Because the print is wrong. Like, this doesn't really fit in real life.
Oh my gosh, you want to talk about yelling at engineers?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You want to talk about eggheads and you're talking about behind the scenes and like how the developers, whoever built the aircraft, right? They're going to give you their schematics and pubs and this is how you. Oh my goodness, man. When there's like I said, we went from Tomcats that have been around like 30 years to the Super Hornet, which has been around like a couple years. So everything was still like on paper in the pub, learning how to do it and whatnot. So But yeah, like I always feel there's always some engineer like, you know, like excellent because he doesn't have to work on it.
Right. Yeah, it shows.
Yeah, it
Like
shows.
I see both sides of the
Oh,
coin.
that'll fit.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
That's
No,
their
it'll
world.
fit. No.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand both sides.
Do you?
Yeah, I still have my same moments thinking about engineers. I probably could have been an engineer.
I
But I didn't-
think you are an engineer.
but I
You just
didn't
don't
go-
have it on paper. That's
Yeah,
all.
I didn't go down that road, so I became the backyard mechanic instead. Maybe a reverse engineer is what I like to call myself now.
Why, you like just taking stuff apart?
Yeah, I take stuff apart, figure out what went wrong, and fix it.
I know. Like when you built that the oven, bro. You took.
Yeah.
Dude, I watched that video, just
powder
like,
coat oven.
yeah. I was like, that's Brad.
I've been pretty good at like imagining something and then being able to come up with something close in real life based on just following my imagination. No instructions. I actually struggle to follow instructions.
Okay.
I've learned how to do it. Sometimes when you don't, the machine crashes.
I see. I see.
And I've also learned that almost nobody follows the instructions most places.
Okay.
And if you have the ability to follow that one detail, it'll stop crashing.
Okay.
And you can look like this giant hero. And you're
Right
not.
on.
You just put something back to print. So
Okay.
sometimes you do need to print and you do need to put it exactly back together like it's written. But I've learned a lot about how you don't have to and when you do have to. It's kind of a cool journey. But yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, my dad always said, "Did you know that effing engineer is not all one word?" That's the clean version of how to say that. But
No
he,
doubt.
He worked at Boeing for a while.
Did he?
So it was one of his favorite jobs too.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, the engineer would bring him a print and say, "Build this," and he'd build it to the print, and then he'd try to fit it, and it wouldn't
And
fit.
it wouldn't fit.
And he'd take it back to the engineer, and he'd say, "Hey, this doesn't fit." And the engineer would say, "Well, it has to fit." And he'd say, "Well, it doesn't fit." And the engineer would say, "Well, did you build it to print?" He said, "Yes, I built it to print." And the engineer would say, "Well, then it'll fit." And then he's like, "Well, it doesn't fit." And then the engineer would come back and try it, and then he'd be like, "Oh, it doesn't fit." Then they go re-engineer it.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Trial and error, I bet.
I've been good at understanding both sides of a lot of things like that.
Good.
But I'm kind of glad to have ended up maybe in the dirt of things, the actual hands-on part of it,
Okay.
where I can kind of engineer it myself and make it fit or modify it, whatever.
Right. Right. That's what I'm saying. You have that. You have that insight. Your brain works that way. It tinkers. And like, what's funny is like, I'm English and history. Like those are my skill sets. Math and science, not so much. But my wife, yeah, math and science. And so we just offset each other, and we do that. And it's funny because like she's a millennial and I'm X. So like she's like, you deal with the people, I'll deal with the things. And she does. She does all the electronic things that I'm like, here, make this work. Like, I feel like an old man sometimes doing that though.
Well, that's where we got people skills because we had to talk to each other
We
back
had
then.
We did. We had to. Well, my wife, she's
That's
an
wild.
introvert too, so she's not big on conversation. She's polite, friendly.
I try to force my kids to interact, like make them order their own stuff at stores and whatnot. I always tell Bo he's really soft-spoken. I'm like, you got to speak to him loud and look right at him and tell him exactly what you want. I've been trying to teach him that.
Right on. Good. That's adorable, man, because your kids are both really soft spoken and they're so sweet. So Mark and I actually, Mark Bogue and I were reminiscing yesterday while we were playing some pool at Double Dice RV Park, man, like it was 1999, you know what I mean? But yeah, him and I were just reminiscing about old times at Elko too.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we had the last good generation. Maybe everybody feels that way, but
I think so.
slightly before social media, and then when it came, we were able to adapt to it. Now
Absolutely.
we're just like everybody else. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
I concur.
I dig social media to be able to do stuff like this nowadays.
Yeah, it is. It's fascinating. Once the internet came out, like, cool, this is a neat idea. And then what the internet is today, anything
Yeah.
is there.
Yeah.
It's the wildest.
Kind of scary. It could be
Yeah.
wiped clean.
Yep.
Maybe easier than books. I don't know, but
But yeah, imagine if that was wiped clean. All that human history,
yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
Like 20 years.
I think there was some periods of time that were wiped,
I bet you there's a lot of stuff that you can't find anymore.
like pyramid stuff.
Oh, yeah.
There's something all around that, I bet.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about digging deeper and older.
Yeah, you were mentioning conspiracy theories earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I used to be huge into conspiracy theories. Some stuff I think now, like, it's possible, you know, but that's a whole inch wide, mile deep.
Yeah. Yeah, the answer now is to hold on to what we know that we still have.
Mm-hmm.
Pass it on. That was cool. You talk about the natives, like they were good at doing that, I think. They all sat around with the elders and shared stories and they passed it on.
Indeed.
They didn't have books. They did their social circles and
They did their traditions and they all passed it down, and everyone, like, you know, had the pride to do so. And that's
cool.
really, really fascinating. It's a shame too. That's another subject of the dark history is their culture is dying off because the younger generation isn't really as interested as hanging with the elders and learning, and that's unfortunate. And but it wouldn't be so rare anymore if like 90% of them were wiped out in the first place.
Right.
90%, dude.
Wow.
Imagine that.
they were driving up in their colony here.
Yep, that's what I'm
last
saying.
night.
Yeah.
It's pretty tiny.
Yeah, it's really, I don't know, sobering.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, learning, digging into history, and finding more stuff. But I'm not gonna delve into the dark stuff if you don't want me to.
That's fine. What do you want to delve into, do you think?
I don't know.
What have we left out?
I was just trying to think of what else. I mean, the military, and we talked about history. And a lot of people, like, I felt like a poser at first because, like, I had so much information just bouncing around up there.
Mm-hmm.
And once I calmed down and realized history is time periods, and then once I started, like, what was going on here at this time period, what was going on over there at the same time period, and then you're like, it's no longer so far apart, you know? Like, you're thinking about the different wars and whatnot, like, multiple wars were going on at the same time, you know? But everyone just really focuses on, like, World War I and World War II. So, but, like, I kind of felt like a poser at first, you know? People were like, oh, what's your favorite time period? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I just like certain things. Like, the 20s always fascinated me, you know? But now I'm kind of, like, over that. Like, that was a period of life. So, but right now, if you asked me, I would say 1800s.
Nice.
I think the 1800s is just fascinating because, you know, you have the birth of the Industrial Revolution. So inventions are now starting to come, you know, kind of like, you know, once the electronic age hit, right? And like everything sped up to like today, how fast it goes. That's just another period in history that's super interesting about like things got better and better and better and better, you know, and it's really people were, you know, more medicines were being discovered, people were living longer, just, and, you know, and then like I said,
Coffee was invented or something, or brought
coffee
here
was brought
for
here,
factory work.
So exactly to keep people working. And then like when the light bulb was invented, now we can work longer. I really love this series, man. It's called America, the Story of Us, and it's produced by the History Channel, and it starts all the way to like when the first colonists got here in like the 1400s, right? In the 1450, yeah, 1600s, I think is when they actually started. So from the 1600s to like kind of modern day, but it's kind of an older show. It's about 10 years old and whatnot, you know, so it's updated to about 2012 or whatnot, right? But it goes through about like the wars that we fought in and like westward expansion and like the Civil War, and each episode just, that also like it's one of my favorite things.
Right on.
So that's a good rendition of American history. But like I said, once again, like I came in like 2012, so there's not a whole lot of dark history there.
What do you know about the Civil War? What's the true cause of the Civil War?
Oh, man.
Everybody has an answer, but
Right?
what is it?
Okay, so it's interesting. When I took this recent Civil War class, one of the first books I opened and read, they said the citizenship test, right? They had that question, what was the cause of the Civil War? And there's two right answers, which is really strange. So it's all based on what you want. But there's the states' rights, right? They're fighting to keep their way of life is one, you know, and the other one was, you know, to abolish slavery. But like Lincoln wasn't the great emancipator that everybody thinks he was. Like he was just kind of in office at that time and didn't want his country divided, you know, like that's not what he wanted. He wanted to try and keep the peace. But so the funny part is like, runaway slaves, or like even the blacks in the North, the South was telling the North what to do. Like, hey, you need to return our slaves, and hey, you need to, like continue slavery, and you need to do this and all that. And the North was like, no, like we're not, who are you to tell us what to do, right? So then when they're like, hey, you need to get rid of your slaves, they're like, no, what are you telling us what to do, So it was kind of like tit for tat like that at first. And then, so like I said, it depends on what you learned in school, what article you might have read. But
Yeah, it seems like it'd be better just to let states' rights be states' rights.
So yeah, but that's they call it the Great Myth. When the South lost, they didn't they're like, no, we didn't lose, right? So they still try to keep their way of life and all that and whatnot. And so with that, so there's a lot of stuff there's the Confederates, was it Confederate Daughters, right, of America? Like they're the ones that put up after the Civil War.
So many of them.
I know, right? There's after the Civil War, they're the ones that were like still spreading propaganda. They're the ones that put up all these, all the monuments that they're tearing down throughout the South right now. Like those were all bought and paid for through like Confederate money and stuff to try and keep the Civil War alive, if you will.
Just to keep the memory of what went on. Mm-hmm. You think it was more so they could keep trying to do what they were originally doing and never wanted to stop doing?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hence when think about it. The civil rights movement wasn't like they've been fighting for civil rights, but the civil rights movement was another 100 years later. 100 years later, before they finally had some freedoms. Because I remember learning in high school, the separate but equal, and I was like, that's really messed up. Why would you do that? Even back then, I was aware of why would you treat another human being this way? It just never made any sense to me.
Well, slavery's kind of been a thing in mankind.
So here's where I tell you, one of the first classes I took was about slavery, right? And it was not just modern slavery, it's like the world of slavery, because it's a Christian college. So it's all, Christian based. So you have to have a Christian worldview, basically, to look at everything, not just like a whole secular view. So that's really cool. You can go back and forth and cross, with the Bible and whatnot. So did you know the word slavery is in Genesis 90 times?
Wow.
Just in the book of Genesis. So yes, humans have been enslaving humans since humanity. That's just part of it, because a big part of it is control. What do humans crave? Humans want control.
Yeah.
So that's why there'll always be war. There'll always be tension there, because no one wants to get along. Everyone tries to commune together, but what happens when you get a good community together? After a while, it falls apart, does it not? It's just who we are.
One tries to brainwash the other.
Yeah.
And if the other one's not doing the same thing, they're wrong.
Yeah, and
happens.
The manipulation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because we all have our own skill sets. So, there's people that have to dig the ditches. There's people that have to run the banks. There's people that have to teach the kids. There's people that have to dig the mines. There's people that have to, I don't know, just everybody has their part to play. We're all important. Every one of us is a part of this, societal cog, So that's why, the Navy, I didn't ever look down on the cooks, because they feed me my food, oh, you're just a dumb cook. I'm an AO,
Yeah.
I never did that. I think humanity needs to realize that we all have our part to play. We all have our skill sets. We're not all going to be Elon Musk. We're not all going to be, I don't know.
That's the part about being right at something too, is that we all have our one something, and we need to do our something to serve someone else, and vice versa. Other people do their something that serves us.
That's right.
It's just how it works.
That's right. One hand washes the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're all a puzzle piece in the giant puzzle.
Yes.
There's no two alike.
That's a good analogy. I like that puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
We all have our pieces.
Yeah. So you retired from the Navy?
Yeah, retired in 2020.
What was your rank at the end of that?
I was E6.
E6.
Yeah, so that's I was aviation ordnance, so it was like AO1. So I was a first class petty officer, if you will.
Right on.
Yeah. So, yeah, so it's pretty good. So then now I get a pension the rest of my life.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's not a bad gig.
Good move. And you got the education in something you
And
actually
then I
wanted.
got the GI Bill, and then after 9/11 whatnot, they came up with a post 9/11 GI Bill, which the Montgomery GI Bill is good. It pays for school, it pays for books, right? And it was actually kind of hard to use, whatnot. Then they came out with the post 9/11. That is worth every penny because not only they pay the school, but you have to find they're called yellow ribbon schools. Because they'll only pay so much. Like you can't just be like, oh, I want to go to Harvard. Like it doesn't work like that. Unless Harvard's gonna let you pay like $250 a class. Like no. So because the government has their quota, but a lot of these schools, holy cow, they're so hungry for that military money, bro. Like you would not believe how easy my school experience was because they want that money. They know that's guaranteed income for however long my GI Bill lasts.
That's good for you.
And it's great for me because not only that, depending on how many classes you take and whatnot, you get a basic allowance for housing, which can be anywhere from like a few hundred to like the max, which is about 1,500. So that helps a lot. And not only that, like every 8 weeks when you take new classes, right, they give you like $125 like that first month too. So like a stipend for like books. But the good news about books nowadays, a lot of these colleges are going to, they're already provided for you through the school library.
Cool.
So I had some classes where like a lot of my stuff was just online, like wasn't even like through the school. It was super simple.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
You just get to put the money in your pocket for that.
So I did. So like not only was I getting my retirement, is like now I was getting, some rent money. I was getting some book money. Cause there's still some stuff like, bro, my Civil War, good Lord, I bought 12 books just for my Civil War. Can you imagine trying to go through 12 books in 8 weeks?
Wow.
When you got a full-time job?
That's nuts.
It is nuts. So you have to learn to prioritize because you still got to have you time. So like especially weekends that I had my kids, right? I wanted to keep those like free.
Right.
So I was all about getting as much possible done like throughout the nut work. Because sometimes like you get home at like 5 and you got to cook dinner. And then like now you want me to do schoolwork? Like, no, I just want to sit on the couch and just like watch a stupid show and just so. But there's nights that there I was after dinner, came home from work, started dinner, like while I'm cooking dinner, working on my projects, working on my papers, and then finish dinner and then come right back to it and put it like, because if you work on it a little bit at a time, it's not so daunting. It's like, great, 2 weeks till this 12-page paper's due. And I haven't even done my research yet. Oh my God, I'm a bad procrastinator though.
That's another indication you picked the right subject, though.
That I can pull it.
You could do all the work,
I could.
even as much as it sucks and was maybe hard to squeeze in.
Yep,
If you weren't passionate, you wouldn't finish it.
no doubt.
One of those things would have hung you up and you'd be done.
Yeah,
But you made it all the way through to the degree.
I did. I
That's
just
awesome.
finished last Friday. So I'm waiting for, the final, because they have like another week or so to put in the final grades. And then I got to wait like 6 to 8 weeks for my diploma to show up anyway.
That's awesome.
But I cannot wait because then I already got a frame for it.
Yeah.
I already kind of know where I want to hang them up. Because my wife, she's got her associates and her bachelor's.
Nice.
So like we had them hung up before, but then now that I'm working on my master's, like I don't know where I'm going to put it up.
Right on the top.
Right
middle,
on top, yep.
Front, center.
And put off to the side, right?
Yeah. Down on the bottom.
Yep.
Humble. Yeah. Put it wherever you want.
Yeah, because the joke was I was gonna say we could the way we were like because we both had our bachelors is we put our DD 214s, right? That's the paper you get to get out of the Navy.
Honorable discharge.
That's your get out of jail free card, bro. And so like we could have our DD 214s and then like our associates and our bachelors, right? That was an idea, but we put art up instead. So now the degrees are actually just they're sitting on a bookshelf right now.
Yeah.
Like waiting to be hung up.
Yeah. That's just the beginning when you get that.
Yeah.
What's the next part, do you think, after that? Have any ideas of what to do with everything?
I don't know. Like I said, I would really like to try and find a job in the same field. Because like my bachelor was majored in history, minored in art history. So like in art, when we got art museums and stuff too, like that would be kind of fun job, right? But I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of like old enough that I don't have to go get that grind in the next 20 years till I want to retire, kind of thing. You know.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I can find something that's kind of chill, that puts money in my pocket, and get to enjoy what I do.
Right on. Yeah, I've heard a new definition of retirement. It's retire to something that you love, then you won't want to quit doing it.
And that's the thing too. My grandfather lived to be 95 years old.
Wow.
His mental health started fading, like he had dementia, and it started fading kind of like when he was about 93, 94, I guess. And but he never quit moving, and that's why he's 95 years old. Like,
Yeah.
I remember there was a time I was young, but he was in the hospital. I guess he had a part of his liver like cut out one night because he drank like fish and smoked and ate bad and whatnot, right? But he like almost died, so they like cut out part of his liver, I guess, because it or I don't know, they did something, I remember, to the liver, and he quit smoking, he quit drinking, and he just hiked with the Sierra Club. And just this man could he could polish off a gallon of ice cream though by himself. He worked nights stocking shelves at the grocery store because that's what he loved to do. He did that for like years, you know.
That's awesome.
Because during the day he had his own construction business that did remodels and housing and stuff like that, right? And it was real successful. So like it was kind of like a job he enjoyed, and he worked all the way till he's about in his 80s, stocking shelves, working nights stocking shelves. Man, just loved it.
That's a great example.
So he always had his freezer was always full of ice cream, always full.
What
So,
kind?
every kind.
Yeah,
That was the
right on.
thing, like, because he worked at the grocery store. Ice cream's on sale. He'd buy a half a dozen and fill his freezer.
Sweet.
Yeah, dude. So, yeah, my grandfather was.
First dibs.
Yep. Yep. Ice cream. That was my grandfather.
That's cool. Well, I hope you follow his model of doing stuff.
I do.
Find something you love that much to do.
Because he was right, too. Just like my grandmother. He said, when you stop, you die. And that's what she did. She retired. She stopped. And she died.
Yeah.
And that's just, like I said, she died in her 60s, 70s. And then my grandfather, like I said, outlived her by like 20 years.
It's amazing.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah.
It was wild.
Yeah. You hear that story more often than not. I hear it a lot from my work. Like,
Yeah.
some people will be there till they're 70 and then retire, and then they're gone in 6 months.
Yeah.
Just like, wow.
Pace of life, just boom.
Yeah.
The military used to be like that. Like, you're so unhealthy, and you're so, I'm not saying what your line of work, but I'm saying the military, right? We used to be really unhealthy, really big. Chiefs died of heart attack because chiefs didn't do anything. So they were big, and they were lying on their, PT tests saying that they passed, when damn well, like, how did you know you didn't pass? But you can't question that.
Right.
Yeah, that's a whole nother issue, though. But so the Navy was fat, right? And then not only that, it's high paced, it's high tempo, and like high stress, right? So these guys would be heavy, and they're used to putting all this stress on their heart every day, just pounding the coffee, yelling at the troops, eating fatty foods. And then they retire from the Navy. I'm talking like at 40, maybe 38 to 40, right? Like they join when they're 18, 19, 20, and they get out, and they're like 40, and they get out. 6 months later, boom, they drop dead of a heart attack because they quit moving, they quit doing that lifestyle. So that's, after that statistic came out, that's when they got a whole, I remember when our Pop-Tarts went from like 2-pack of like, heck yeah, Pop-Tarts, right? To here's your 1-pack whole grain, like, and they just sat there. No one really ate them. Like, I remember just getting some great fatty foods. They started taking the deep fryers off of the boats.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh. I was on the Eisenhower, and we had deep fat fryers when I first got there. We went through the yard period. They took them out. I didn't realize, I didn't have any idea because I never worked in the kitchen and whatnot, right? But then when the food really, really tanked, I was like, what the heck? Like, none of it was fried because they got rid of the fryers. So when I was on the Baton, we still had fryers, deep fat fryers. I was like, yes. So like, I loved fried food. But so when we went in the yard period, I was like, you're not getting rid of the fryers, right? And he's like, no, I fought to keep them. I was like, all right, cool. But our officer, our food storage officer, man, he kept them alive.
Must have been Gen X.
So, oh yeah, yeah. That was funny is when I came in, like, it was older Gen X and some young boomers, right? Because I was the new guy, but the other people have been in 20, 30 years, right? What were they? they were older Gen X and boomers. So, and then as the years went by, then the boomers retired, and then the X started retiring, and then the millennials came in, and then the Navy like really changed. So even so, like me being X towards the end, here I have millennials and Z creeping up too. Like there was actually quite a difference.
You can just pull your hair out.
I felt out of place when before like we were all kind of on an even playing field.
That's happened to me in my career too. Like,
Really?
like I'm in the generation that remembers how to do stuff, and
The old-fashioned way.
it's just like, wow.
Yeah,
Like some of the new ones coming in, they just don't have it.
yeah. So yeah, I guess you're teaching the young generation now, aren't you?
Yeah, sometimes.
Right on.
And I still feel like I need to learn stuff. So I'm like, well, who do I learn from?
I'm with you there. That's what I'm saying. I was learning from those above me, and then they retired.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, now who do I learn from?
I guess I turn to social media, listen to those kind of people wherever they are.
Yeah,
So that works out. The information can be found.
yeah.
It's just like I don't
Yeah.
always work alongside of it anymore.
Okay.
But still, I mean, even the millennials, the Zs, they still can learn, and they can teach us a thing or two.
Absolutely.
I've learned that too.
Yeah.
It's not really hard to pick up what I have to do for work.
Okay.
I guess maybe you just have to be wired for it. But
Yeah. You can't be like an egghead and like go work on stuff. Like you have to be
Yeah.
like freaking. Well, I mean, I don't mean egghead. I mean like, I was saying there are different skill sets, right? Like, you want someone like you, math and science, who can just like look at something. What if we? Hey, it worked, you know? Or like, what if we? Well, that didn't work. Let's try. All right. Well, let's try. You know, like. But if you have someone who's like, well, what does the book say? Like that can't think like outside the box, right? Because they're like, you know, straight and narrow.
yeah,
They get blinders on.
yeah, we got a good mix.
Good.
So-
Good. Because I learned that about the Navy too. Is like when I started getting older and I was in charge, like I was never that tyrant. Like, oh, you got to do it this way, but right? Like when it comes to load and ordnance or maintenance, one, of course you have to be by the book, and they understood that. You know, you can't deviate from that.
Right.
But there's different parts of evolutions, like moving, transporting stuff, or loading stuff, or not, moving stuff around. You know, fixing stuff and whatnot, like prioritizing and whatnot. And I always told him, like, hey, man, I'm very diplomatic. I was like, if you have a better idea and it's safe, and I'm all for it. You know, if it's going to be the shortest route from A to B, and I did. I'm especially, like I said, once I was like my last couple years in the Navy, I had a couple really smart kids that worked under me, and yeah, I was like, I always consulted them, even though there were a couple pay grades below me. I didn't care. I was like, well, what do you guys think?
Yeah,
They're like, well, what if we da-da-da? I'm like, you know what? That's a good idea.
that's awesome.
Or like, hey, I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to go talk to Chief and see what he thinks.
Yeah.
So you have to be open-minded like that.
Yeah, I appreciate that you were in that spot and you were like that with people.
Well, because,
That's what's wrong with a lot of places.
see, and that's a whole nother subject too. The quick version of that is like, I had a lot of great leaders. I had a lot of crappy leaders. And you know what I did? I adopted all the traits from my great leaders.
Nice.
And I remembered how the bad leaders made me feel and treated me. And I did not want to treat my people that way.
That's awesome.
Because young in the Navy life, I learned two very important lessons that a really great teacher taught me. He says, 1, never forget where you came from. 2, always take care of your people. He said, everything else will fall into place.
Sweet.
So if
Yeah,
you
they'll
stay
step up and do what needs to be done.
exactly like, so when there's a flight schedule, right, and it's bad weather, and you know they're not going anywhere, you still have to load all those practice bombs, and it's 2:00 in the morning, and it's like the frozen rain, almost a little hail, right? But yeah, I had the respect of my crew when I was on that shore duty, and I ran the graveyard shift. I said, all right, guys, I know. We got to do it. And they would get up, and we would do it, just the same as if it was a sunny day, you know, in June. We went out there, and we still just did it. And that was the camaraderie and the teamwork that we had is what I really enjoyed the most about the Navy.
That's cool. It's good for them to be forced to get up and do stuff too.
Indeed.
That's where you lose, is sitting around doing nothing.
Indeed.
So don't
Yep.
do that.
No.
That's be rad or be sad
That's right.
type things.
Yeah. You don't want to be sad.
Yeah.
So I'm
Go
just
do something.
yeah. So you're asking me what now? Like, don't know now.
Yeah.
Like I said, well, God will show me the right career,
That's right.
but I would like to use my degree for sure.
Well, that's another topic. How did you find out about God? How'd you figure out it'd be wise to have God in your life? He's always on your side, but how'd you figure
Right.
out it'd be wise to join him, I guess we should say?
Awesome. That's a great question. So, my coming to Christ moment, if you will, my parents were C&E Christians, if you will, when I was a kid.
So what's that?
Christmas and Easter.
Okay.
You know the Christians that
Yeah.
only go to church
Yeah.
Christmas and Easter?
Yeah.
Yeah. So TJ Martin was the one that actually taught me that. Let's see, he called C&E Christian. So that was us. But my parents were always open to religion if I wanted to. So like when I lived on the south side of town of Elko, I went to a Pentecostal church my freshman year, and I met some really cool people and had a really good time. You know, still kind of like, you know, kind of got into it, but I wouldn't say I was like a believer. I didn't really, you know. And then because all my friends after that, I was hanging out with people that that weren't the best influences.
Like me.
So even before you, but you were up there.
We were all into the same thing.
Yeah, we all had doing what we thought was right.
Yeah. A Rumspringa.
It was our yes. Let's call it our Rumspringa. That's right. So we went to so that church, but then I didn't go to church again for a while, and then I joined the Navy. And while I was in the Navy, my grandmother would always send me my dad's mom. She's a very devout Christian woman. She would send me, you know, lots of letters of encouragement. She'd send me care packages and whatnot, right? And then I had a gym partner who was a Christian. So like God was like, "Hey, bro, this is coming." So, but I didn't know it was coming. But he was like, "Get ready, here it comes." Do. So I'm hanging out with Brian. We're working nights. We're getting up early. We're going to the gym, right? And he's talking to me about God, right, and whatnot. I was like, oh, that's cool, you know. So like I said, I was never against it, but I never really felt it. But for some reason, in the middle of the Persian Gulf, this is literally 1 month before we started bombing Iraq in 2003. February of 2003, I came to the Lord. But my grandmother sent me this Bible, and I was supposed to bring it, and I was sad that I didn't because it's still sitting in the car. But my grandmother, my dad's mom, sent me the student Bible, and it was great. It has all, like, I even used the student Bible when I was in college, you know, like as a reference.
That's good.
That's how important it is. And so she sent it to me, and started reading it, and then like right there in the birthing, bro, like right in the middle of the day, freaking, I prayed right there at his rack, and I said my prayer, and confessed my sins, and took the Lord. And so after that, I was on fire for God for a couple years, like studying the Bible like crazy, Bible study at the house. Like I went to multiple services on Sunday, like go to small groups on Tuesday. I was hungry, you know. I really, really, really wanted that info. But then I moved, and in Virginia, my first wife and I were just having issues after that and whatnot. Like, 'cause I kept trying, like, hey man, come to church with me, come to church with me. And she's the one who was Christian in the first place. Like she grew up in a Christian family and whatnot, you know. So like, but she wouldn't go to church with me. Like I don't understand. Like it's not how this works. Yeah. But so that kind of fell apart. And then when that fell apart, I fell apart. So I backslid after that. Like God who? Ancient aliens? Yeah, maybe that's more plausible. You know, I just started finding validity. You know, what is it? Simulation theory. You know, like I started delving into that too. I'm like, well, that's possible too. But it's like, you know what? No. The simple answer is, you cannot have a creation without a creator, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously there's a creator. Mm-hmm. Something had to create. So like you just, you know, so that's why the whole, like, I think a lot of us serve the same God. Mm-hmm. They just call it different things.
Yeah. So God, as I understand it in my program, I've learned to give everybody else that freedom too.
Okay.
Like it's the same God, but we understand him different. We're different.
Right.
We're probably not supposed to understand him exactly the same. Mm-hmm. It'd be just like the relationship between me and you. It's different between you and someone else. It's different between me and someone else. Mm-hmm. I think it kind of follows that pattern, that our relationships with God would be different too. It's special because of that.
It is, right? Because we're all different.
Precious.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like we both kind of had the same journey as far as God's concerned.
Yeah.
Like I went into it hot and heavy, got all sobered up, and then fell out. Just reminds me that there's a devil, Satan. He wants back what was once his.
Correct.
Because we were good agents for him.
Yeah.
Still are.
Yeah.
If you want to be honest.
Right.
We're learning how not to be.
How not to be. Yeah.
So much. That's great. I really appreciate that you figured it out, but like listening to your story, it's no surprise that you did. It's another thing of history. And there's a whole book written on it that miraculously survived
Yes.
everything and
Yeah.
still does.
Indeed.
It's a living book. So that's cool.
Yeah, man.
That's some pretty cool history there.
Yeah, that's some of my history. Yeah. So, yeah, then I met Michelle. She's Christian, and so she inspired us to go back to church, and we've been going back to church ever since. And now we volunteer at the food pantry, and we run the food pantry at our church, and it feels good because like food is my thing. Everyone has like passionate about something, but I think every creature needs food. And especially every human being needs food.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. So I'm glad to be a part of that and helping out and seeing like people because it's really a humbling experience.
You guys have a deep fryer?
It's a good question. No, we don't. But what we do is we buy staple groceries. We have like spaghetti and sauce, right? And then like we have like beans and rice, soups, canned vegetables. Sometimes we have some meat, but not. We'd like to get more. But we got like cereals, peanut butter jelly, mayo, some basic condiments, some snacks, and a lot of people take the oil, flour, and sugar, like because those are like real staple baking, cooking ingredients. But yeah, they come, kind of hand in hand. And some people like one young lady came recently. She just lost her job, and we had never seen her before. Like, hey, yeah, come on in. And she's like, oh, this is so humbling. She's like, I don't know. So I was like, it's okay. Here, and give her a bag and explain to her, here, take what you want. Take whatever you feel like you can use. And the poor thing was in tears by the end of it, just because she's like, I don't know, couldn't believe that she was in a food pantry, like getting free food, like, and that's. But we all go through it. Everybody goes through it. Some people will just come back stronger, and some people just give up.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I'm out there to help everybody.
That's great.
It makes me feel good to help out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, me too.
yeah. I know you've always been that guy that would give the shirt off his back.
I've learned I need to have a shirt though. Still, there's some other mentors we follow. They say eat the sandwich first.
Okay.
If there's only one sandwich, you got to eat it because you got to stay strong to serve other people.
I like that analogy. I've never heard that
So
before.
don't give away yours,
Right.
and you'll be given yours
Right.
as long as you're doing the right work, being rad.
Being red.
You'll
That's
have
right.
all the sandwiches you need to do what you got to do, and you'll have more to give other people. But
That's the goal, man.
yeah, I'll give you the shirt off of my back, but I'll put a different one on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you come from good people. I remember a cold evening when we were younger. Your cousin took care of us.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah.
really it was the middle of the night, and it meant a lot. Like, you guys hungry? Made some mac and cheese for us,
Oh, yeah.
and got some blankets, and like, I don't know. You really showed me family.
Yeah, man.
You understand family.
Yeah.
Where me, family it can be a 4-letter word sometimes.
I was pretty fortunate. I always had a family. It was just me, my mom, and dad most of the time.
Right.
Had my cousins and stuff that I visited, but
Your parents.
I always
loved-
had the
loved
home
you.
family.
Yep.
And then when we moved down here, my mom moved here first. Me and my dad stayed behind.
Right.
I went a little haywire because one of them was gone.
In the big town
then-
of Butte, Montana.
No, it was Libby, Montana.
I mean, Libby. That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Originated from Butte, but
That's right.
I grew up in Libby.
That's cool,
But
man.
yeah, I lost one parental guidance figure. She moved down here, so I had a little bit more freedom, went a little haywire. And then
Yeah.
when I moved down here, my dad stayed behind, and my mom was at work all the time. That's when I really I went for it.
Yeah.
But there's no mistakes, I guess, in life, and I could have done less of that kind of stuff, but that made me who I am. It's cliche to say it, but I
No.
might not have some of the feelings I have had I not done that. And I was always the curious person that would have went and did it anyway.
Yep.
As soon as I could have.
Yep.
And I did do that even after I got cleaned up. Still some more.
Still curious.
The other guy I had on here last time, Tony, he's like, you can't rob somebody of the pain that they have to go through to get where they need to go.
Right.
So some of us just have to get the hard lessons. But thankfully, like you now, I have the family in place at home.
Yeah.
And they are a large reason I'm successful today. Because I would still probably lose out without the guidance at home.
Yeah, I'm really glad you got the support center.
Yeah.
You do, because that's one of the things that you and I like. I really like hanging out with you is because you had a lot of good, bad ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you were always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, one thing I remember was right down here on Idaho Street. We like started at one stoplight and then just floored it like 70 miles down through the town, and all the lights turned green. Just dumb stuff like that.
wow, yeah,
Stuff I'd never get away with now. I'd crash into something or whatever.
yeah.
I wouldn't do it now.
No way.
Not quite.
No.
Yeah.
The town was a lot smaller back then too, though. Like I
Yeah.
said, it was about what I say 16,000, 14,000 back then,
Yeah.
and now it's 20,000.
Yep. Still fairly small.
Still small. Yeah, it's not like you guys have traffic jams.
Yeah.
I always love coming back here. I had so many good years here, and so like all my impressionable years were here.
Mm-hmm. Same
And
here.
so I'm so glad that you're here to visit and hang
Yeah.
out. And
Yeah.
then
We're family now.
we are. I've been included in the Brooks, and I feel the Brooks and the Townsends have adopted me, and
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
It's awesome. Even have our shoes, Brooks shoes.
Yeah, man, Brooks shoes.
I've never had a pair of Brooks shoes my whole life.
Yeah, I didn't even know they existed until I got I went to the Good Feet store.
I think I'm gonna go buy a pair just because
Yeah, man, check it out.
those are my shoes.
Amazon.
B Rooks.
B Rooks, yeah. And I'm telling you, it's awesome. There's so many different shapes and sizes and styles and whatnot, right?
I'll decide.
And they'll last you a good while, because they're like just legit running shoes. You know, that's exactly what they are. So, but
Nice.
for people with like bad backs and weird feet like me, they awesome. Because I got Good Feet store like insoles and their orthotics and all that. You know, so that helps a lot.
Sweet, man.
I've had it and they have a lifetime warranty. Like I actually had a pair that kind of like got a little scuffed up and like just worn, and like that was like 3 years later, and she's like, I'm gonna go replace these, and she did. She left, grabbed them, came right back like free of charge because they said lifetime warranty.
Sweet.
So yeah, so it's good to be no back pain anymore.
Yeah. So those people that made those shoes, they had to be in their thing, what they're rad at.
Yeah.
They actually care about making a shoe that helps.
They do. That's what I said. Like that's the shoe. That's the brand of shoe you're gonna find in the Good Feet store. You know, like so. Obviously, there's something to that.
Yeah. So they're legendary. I don't know what it's gonna be or if I'm already doing it, but that's the itch that I have too, is to build a thing with that much attention to detail and outcome.
Right.
I suppose we have that with the gym that we have.
Well, yeah.
We've had to take some steps backwards recently, but the mission is still the same. Like, we're building this place to serve people the best that we possibly can, and that's rule number one.
Right.
And that gets us through the hurdles,
Okay.
through the times when it doesn't pay its own bills.
Yeah.
We like keep moving on. It's our number one love, our way to contribute to people.
Right. You guys are serving the community.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So I think that's an important lesson for everyone.
You're boosting the spirits of these people who like are learning new techniques and just they're reaching new goals and whatnot, and like that's awesome. You help people, find themselves and feel good.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about when you were talking about people being unhealthy in the Navy. That's the piece they were missing. Like, you can almost eat what you want. Like, you should have nutrition first,
Right.
but if you can work out, you can make up for some of the poor eating.
Right. Some. Yeah.
And, like, I don't know, was there any push for exercise in the military?
Oh, that's what I said. There was a whole culture change. Like it went from like you did your PRT, but there was no mandatory PT, right? So like every 6 months you had to do so many push-ups, so many sit-ups, and run a mile and a half within a certain time frame, right? And but no one really took that seriously, kind of, right? And like people like fudged the numbers and all that, right? And because it's just good old boy club. But then like then they started like taping people and weighing people, and then they made the scale smaller, right? So like if you're overweight, like now you have to go to mandatory PT.
Wow.
And you actually got bad marks on your evaluation for being like out of standards, right? So that was a big push too, is it motivated people to like do that. But then in motivated commands, so like all of a sudden now commands we're having mandatory PT. When before, like we're like, well, we got too much work to do. We don't have time for that, right?
Yeah.
No, the Navy is like, you'll make time.
Well, that's good.
So like I kind of it's a double edged sword because when do you think you're gonna have the time to work out? On your time. They're not gonna take their time.
Right.
So like if you work day check and day check starts at like 7, right? You're there at 6 to work out, or even 5:30, because you still want to make sure you got time to shower and make it to like maintenance meeting on time. So like they'll get theirs, but it's at the price of the service member.
Well, that's still kind of that way in life in general. You have to make time to do that stuff.
Yep.
It's amazing. It's the most important thing that you should do, and there's all kinds of forces against it.
Yeah, it's easy to sit on the couch rather than go work out, man.
Yep.
Way easier.
Yeah, I own a gym and I haven't been in 2 years. So,
I can sympathize with that.
yeah, I know it was a good thing, and I know it still should be a good thing. Yeah, nutrition is one way to offset that, but you really can't go without working out
Right? You still got to be
in
physical.
some capacity.
Like, yeah, you can eat less calories and all that, but
Yeah.
you still need the tone.
Yep.
Yeah. The strength.
Yeah, man.
Like, you might not weigh nothing, but you're not going to have any strength to do anything.
Yeah. It's an automatic way to be rad is to take care of yourself like that.
Indeed.
Yes, sir.
That's good. That's a good message. You're right. Be rad. Be rad to yourself. Take care of yourself physically. Take care of yourself mentally. Take care of yourself. Like, self-care is a thing, man. Like, it was a trip. You know what? I actually took a mental health day one day, like a couple years ago. I just like, you okay? I'm like, I can't do it today.
Yeah.
I need some time. They're like, okay, that's fine. Like, you know, good. See you tomorrow if you want. And I was like, all right. And they were really cool about it. You know what I mean? Like, that was the whole difference between the freaking civilian and military. Like, military, you're sick, who cares? You actually have to go to the doctor for them to examine you and determine if you're too sick to go to work.
And if it's just mental, they won't find it.
Well, they don't give a crap if it's mental. They'll just tell you to go to therapy and take your pills.
Yeah. Pull up your panties.
Yep, and go to work. So yeah, it was nice in the civilian world where I'm like legit sick, and I'd be like, hey, you know, I don't feel good, and they're like, yeah, okay, because they don't want you bringing that to them. So that's a good spot. I want to find another place like that actually gives a damn about your health.
Right on. Would you ever be the type to just build your own place, your own entrepreneurial endeavor?
Michelle and I talk about that sometimes, like, oh, what kind of company would we have, or would we do this or whatnot? But like, we're not those kind of people. I think it takes a lot of courage, and I'm really proud of you and Corey for your entrepreneur spirit, because like, I don't know, I'm too afraid of all of that, what it entails, all the overhead, all this, all that. Like, it's just, especially depending on the type of company, whatnot, you know. And some people it comes naturally, and it's really easy for them. And like I said, once again, everybody has their skill set.
Yeah.
So like, you need the consumers, and you need people who have the products to consume.
Right. You also need entrepreneurs, the people that have to work at a place that make it great. So you could be that role.
Yeah, that's
Nothing wrong with that.
to be honest, when I was in the military, I didn't really want to lead. Like, I kept making rank, and I wanted to work. They're like, you got to lead. Like, I don't want to lead. I want to work. Like, well, you got to lead. Like, I don't want to lead. I want to work. Like, that's not how this works. So next thing I know, I'm buried in paperwork, watching the guys grab the toolboxes and going out to the flight line. I'm just like, oh, I want to go. Like, you know, like, there's those moments that I'm coming in on the weekends where it's quiet and I can work on my guys' evals, you know, like awards. Like, there's, you know, they say great power comes great responsibility, like Spider-Man, right? But that's no joke, though.
Heck yeah.
Joke. Yeah, so entrepreneur, no, not I don't have the guts to pull that trigger and get that loan or have that product, or worry, is it going to be a fad? Is it going to last forever? You know, like,
Well, you just follow what you're passionate about. And if it's the right time and it's the right place, then it works. And you make it through all the hurdles.
well, that's so like you said, maybe so. One thing I never really considered, but I was telling you earlier about tour guides, right? Like, what if I live somewhere and become a subject matter expert and become a tour guide at something, like, but my own independent company, right? Like, not working for somebody. Like, of course, like, you have to get permission from the city, you know, and pay your dues, because, money, 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 money makes the world go round.
Yep.
So, but
Business expense.
yeah, business expense. So everyone's got to get their cut. Everybody. So yeah. So I might do that, but that would be the only like entrepreneur because I'd only have to track like, myself.
Yeah, that's cool. That's how I feel like I'd rather be.
Yeah.
And so, like for us, I've stepped out of the gym almost entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Like I helped come up with some of the ideas of how to acquire it.
Right.
Like help find some people to help us, like guide us to run it. Some mentors that way.
Right. Right. Right.
So I was able to go out and take the adventure to figure all that stuff out. And Corey's the one that's better at doing what she's told, and I'm not. So
Yeah.
now she does what she's told in the business. It works.
That's cool.
Like me, I'm the inventor of things, and like for me to continuously run the machine the way that I invented it is not me. I need to go invent a new machine.
Gotcha.
So
But you want to teach someone to work on that machine so that way you can go invent a new machine.
Right.
And
It's
they
just-
can take care of that for you.
I can't hardly do instructions the same way twice.
Right.
I kind of I follow the flow state
Okay.
and kind of just do what I do at that time with that thing. So fortunately, like I don't know that the gym would have survived with me at the helm. Not likely.
feel
Like
you.
even I have my own little company going, and it's kind of just the land is left of that business. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
So-
yeah.
So I'm doing this.
But you know what? You had the guts to
instead.
go do it, though, didn't you?
Yeah, but that was the first like piece that put us in the position to get the
To get
rest.
the gym, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like
Now-
people. I'm sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
Now it's just my turn to figure out what to do with myself. So I'm in the middle of that with this stuff right here.
Right.
It's like talking to cool people and encouraging them to be even cooler.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really honored that you invited me to be part of your show.
Heck yeah, that you
'Cause
qualify at being rad
I
something.
do qualify. So hopefully there's a lot more rad people we can talk to.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you have anything else you wanted to share that you didn't get to?
Oh, I don't know. Like I don't know. People don't really like talking about themselves.
Yeah.
So, but you were talking about your walk with Christ. You found Christ like before I did, and then you had your backsliding time, and now you're back, man of God. I was really honored yesterday to be a part of that. Go to church with you guys.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yep.
I really enjoyed your church.
Yeah, I went off into it hot and heavy, like you talked about doing, and for whatever reason, lost out. Just had some more things to go learn.
Yep. I had more lessons to learn. Yep.
Fortunately for me, my lessons or my shenanigans always got me mixed up with the cops around here.
That's unfortunate.
I consider them to be angels, though, because they
Yeah.
always led me back to like AA or counseling or whatever,
That's a really good way to look at it.
which led me back to doing this deal with God.
Yeah.
So now today I try to start out with that first.
Okay.
So I make sure to pray in the morning. And when I don't, my day unravels and I feel it and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, please help God, you know.
Yeah, morning prayer. That's something that I honestly actually haven't done in quite some time.
But I've learned that it's more like a conversation as much as you can have one all day long.
It
for
is.
every situation that comes up.
It is.
Not-
Especially like when you get frustrated, you can just like take a breath. Like,
Yeah.
all right, God, I know we can do this. Help me
Right.
out, right? Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's always there for us.
Yep.
That's what's the beautiful part
You
about
do
it.
or don't have to go to a church per se, but there's the part about fellowship.
That's exactly. And
So
in
if
the
I
Bible,
try to
you
do it
know,
on my own, I forget things and then I'm back out there. So I go to the fellowship meetings of various kinds now
right?
to remember and also, I guess, to be somewhat of an example because I'm doing this stuff. It's really working.
Yeah.
I've really gotten help from the God of heaven,
Yeah.
and there's no doubt about it. And
Yeah.
I am in converse with him regularly, and so I guess I'm an example that it does work.
Yeah.
You know me at my absolute worst.
I do.
And you know me now.
And I see you
And
now
so
at
you're
your
like, well, some miracle had to happen.
I see you at your absolute best.
And that's what the miracle has been. And then I've gotten it as many times as I've needed it. Fortunately, this time I've hung on to it for the last 7 years. So I've got some lessons a little bit more firm this time around.
Yeah.
A lot of that too is to spread the message how I got it
Yeah, exactly.
not
That's
be
important.
ashamed of it, and to openly discuss it. Like, I don't run around and introduce myself. Yeah, I'm Brad. I'm a follower of Christ. I'm a alcoholic.
Right.
I don't start out that way.
Right.
I start out as a hopefully somewhat normal human being in a normal situation.
Right.
And
And then it
then
comes up in conversation.
It comes up, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel that call, I guess, come to me from God, I suppose. He's like, maybe it's time to mention that. And so then I do. And then everybody's like totally supportive and respect what I've been through and what I'm doing for the most part. There was a
Absolutely.
time in my life where I was kind of embarrassed and shy about it.
Really? I
I think-
was gonna ask if that's hard, like to swallow, to come to grips with, and then share.
I think it's just some more of the enemy trying to fight it.
Oh,
Or there would be like, I was gonna talk about it and then I totally got
Chickened
prevented.
out. Okay.
Or chickened out.
Yeah, I got you. But like someone else took the stage. Is that what you mean?
Just if, like, say I was having a conversation with a new person and they talk about having struggles
Right.
and they don't really have God in their life, and I have that light bulb come on. Well, I know what works,
Oh,
and so I might get ready to introduce that to them, and then maybe someone else comes in and the whole conversation just gets hijacked to something else.
oh yeah. That's not
That happens.
Yeah.
Or
Okay,
I-
I believe it.
Or probably, I guess, more likely it happens internally and I just don't say it. But there's been a lot of instances where I'll have more than one chance with the same person to say this message. My sponsee was in that such category. Like, he came into our meeting and like, I got sober enough and did the program long enough I could finally see somebody come in, like almost literally physically hunched over from the burdens they were carrying on their back.
Wow.
It was like he actually
Right.
had a bag
He
of
was
crap on his
carrying
back that he was
pain and all
carrying
that.
with him.
Yeah.
And his light was dim, And I could see that, like, because of the work that I've been doing.
Right.
And God's help for me to see that day. And I got the message, maybe you should take him through the steps. And then I was like, I can't do it today. So, like, maybe a week or two would go by and I'd be presented with that idea again, same person. Luckily, they're still around,
Yeah.
And finally, I was
God
like,
gave you another chance. The Holy Spirit's like, okay, now do
how,
it. Do
how
it.
about now, Brad?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
this
yeah.
perfect for you?
Is this aligned with your schedule?
Is this to your liking?
Yeah.
And so I did it. And that's a lot of what it's about, is just saying, I don't feel like I'm the best at this, but you're right, I can take him through the steps. I know how to do it. I have it lined out in my book. I can take anybody through. If I'd
Now-
have brought it here today, I could have took you through. Anyway, I did. And that just opens the gate for God to work his magic to that person. It's not necessarily me.
Yeah.
I'm just a door.
And
And then now he has it. So
I love that. That's a great analogy. That's like I said, our pastor friend Jim, he was our first pastor when we went to church here in I'm in Elko now, but in Norfolk, right? And just seeing him and the way he preached and the way he treated everybody and everything, like, just he's a great dude. Like, he's not quite like a father figure because he's more like an older brother or uncle or something, because he's only like 10 years older than me, so 11. But he's very, very wise, man. And he would do that. He wouldn't just be like, here's the message, blah, blah, blah. He would say, God, use me as a vessel. Tell me what you want me to say, lead me through. Like, because, there's times, they have their sermons prepared, because they don't know. Like, oh, we're going to talk about this today, right? And some ministers and preachers, they do. They stick to their guns. And then there's some that, like, listen to the Holy Spirit, and then he'll come out like, you know what? I was going to talk about, redemption, but you know what? Something on my heart today just, tells me, like, we should talk about forgiveness. Somebody here needs this message about forgiveness, right? And and he'll go into it and ad lib, what I'm saying? Just, he has his Bible, but he has his favorite verses memorized and whatnot. And just watching him, like, watch God use him. And that's his prayer. Is like, let's pray. And then after a song, and that's his prayer. He says, God, use me as a vessel and have me say what you want me to say. Tell these people what they need to hear. Like, and that was always his intro prayer.
yeah.
Always. So,
Perfect.
and like I said, sometimes he'd go right through his topic, and sometimes it would just be, you know what? He's like, you know what? Today we're going to talk about, like healing. Someone right now just is hurting, and and I really believe the Spirit like talked to him. He wasn't just throwing out like generic subjects. I mean,
Yeah.
because like anyone can hurt, like you're in a whole congregation, like, but like, and anyone needs forgiveness, but like he'll feel it, like,
Yeah.
and then he'll just go.
I'm glad how easy it is to tell the difference between those kind of people after working my own things with God and with my AA program.
Yeah, have you
Beautiful.
You met people like that are, like you said, that are a vessel that you
Yes.
feel like God is
They speak to
transferring
me
to
right
you.
through them. Mm-hmm. I've recognized that that's what's going on.
I love it when the Holy Spirit does that.
Yeah.
It's so wild, right?
Or you'll have a question that you never told anybody, and that person will answer it. So how does that work?
Right.
Coincidence?
Isn't that, yeah, exactly. Like you'll have a subject on your mind, and then you'll see someone you haven't seen for a while. And they're
Yeah.
like, "Hey, man," they're like, "Hey, whatever happened?" And you're like, maybe I should pursue that. Like no
Yeah.
one has even brought that up in the last little while. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, God knows all your thoughts.
Does
All
He
the
knows, He knows it.
I've even been daydreaming and maybe had some kind of like a hymn book or a Bible or an AA book, and it has a word that my daydreaming eyes are focused on,
Nice.
and I'm way out of it, like in some
Right.
other place, and that person will mention that word, and it'll snap me right back into the meeting. So yeah,
That's
it's like God,
cool.
like going, "Hey,
That's the
check it out."
divine intervention.
Yeah.
Hey, listen to this segment real quick.
It was easy for me to believe it all. It just, there was a time when I didn't want it. There was a time also when I didn't believe that it was for me. Like, why do I deserve any of this help, or why do I need it?
Right.
I've been through all those things.
That's
I don't know if I've ever thought
That's good.
it didn't exist.
Right.
Like maybe I tested that thought out, but I was always proven that there's something going on.
You were always self-aware.
Yeah. I began as probably a CNE Christian, but there was times even when I was like a teenager or so, there was something that drew me to it. Like I went to the youth group, I went to the church camp, maybe more to do the fun things there.
That's so. Remember, I was telling my freshman year when I was going. It was like more or less like I guess to be a part of all the fun that they were having. It wasn't more of the message.
There's still one thing I do remember from summer camp that I'll never forget. They had like the bare naked light bulbs in there, the incandescent light bulbs in the chapel, and everybody's singing. And I just feel this warm glow
Yeah.
associated with that light. And when I said my first unreserved prayer to God to take over my life and help out, that same light came back to me, like in my bedroom, in my house, when I was there all by myself, and I knew, oh, this is
Your answer.
God's answer. Yeah.
Your prayer had been answered.
He's like, I asked him several times, I think, before. That's one of the deals when you go through the steps in AA.
Okay.
You say the prayer,
Right.
but if you don't mean it, he's like, well, you didn't mean it, so I didn't come. But then I remember thinking to myself, I have to say this in an unreserved manner. I have to really believe that I want this to be. And when I finally got that right, that light came on, and I can't say that it ever got dark again,
Okay.
thinking about it. Even in my dark
Yeah.
periods, he was like, so you ready to come back yet? Every single day, he'd ask me, and I'd say, nope. I'd go back off and do what I was going to do. Then finally one day, he's like, you ready to come back? And I'm like, yes. Yes, please. Just as simple as that.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you got these epiphanies.
Yeah.
You got these revelations, if you will. That's awesome.
No mistake
Yeah.
in my life.
And that's so. Here's something that I got to profess, and I hope it's not too much information. You can edit it if you want, but like part of the 12-step program is you have to right any wrongs, and you have to get redemption through whatnot, right? You never had to do that through me. You never called me randomly one day like, "Hey man, I'm sorry, blah 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 blah." You know what I mean?
Wow.
And that's just like, I guess because you and I were in it together,
Yeah.
right? But like that always meant a lot to me. Is like I know you hurt some people in your life because we always do whenever we go rogue. That's just the way human nature is, you know. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, you never had to come to me like, "Hey man, sorry I pissed in your fishbowl," you know, like.
How about this? I'm sorry I like peed my pants on your parents' steps and dyed their carpet black, and we couldn't clean it, and we had to fess up that we had a party in their house.
Once again, I don't care. Guess
Yeah,
what? Not
see?
my house.
The little thing about doing the lists of wrongs and making amends to people, there's a big part of that where that's for me to do.
Okay.
Because you might not even remember the thing
Right.
that I'm like, I'll go drink over. I feel so bad about it.
Yeah, and that's how you can backslide that way, huh?
Yep. So you make the list of all the things that come to mind to you with your
Okay.
sponsor,
Okay.
and you set those right, and then you'll think about more. And then sometimes the people do remember, and they're like, "Oh, well, thank you for apologizing." Sometimes they're like, "I'm never going to talk to you again." Doesn't matter kind of what they do. You hope that you can repair the relationship and really right the wrong. A lot of righting the wrong is just not doing stupid stuff anymore. But it's largely for the person going through the steps. Because then when the devil's like, hey, remember when you did this, you piece of crap? You don't deserve any of this help. You're like, no, I dealt with that, remember? I put that on the list and I burned it or whatever I did. That
That's
God threw that
wrong.
into the sea and forgot about it.
Right.
So will I. I'll
That's-
stand up straight and I'll move on.
It's good. That's outstanding. That's like I mean, it's like Christianity. Same thing.
Yeah.
Like I did all these bad things to these people in my past.
Yep.
And sometimes the devil was like, "Hey, remember when you?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember when God forgave me."
Yeah.
And like, go away.
Yeah.
Like that's what I tell myself now. Is like a memory will come and like anxiety will hit me and I feel bad for a second. I'm like, damn. Well, you know what? God already forgave me for that. And you know what? I prayed for peace for that person, and I have faith that God gave that person some peace, you know, and hopefully even took the memory away, like
Yeah.
that I didn't. I don't know. I don't hurt people, because you know why? Broken people break people, and that's something that when I was owning my stuff, that's part of growing up. Remember, like the whole backsliding. Like, yeah, I backslid, and then like I came through secular ways. You know, I did therapy and whatnot, and then realized my wrongs and why I treated people this way, and like what hurts me and why I was hurt, and I was hurting people because I was hurt, and like it's a whole vicious cycle. So then, once you get through that, but then you add God to it, you know, you got God's forgiveness. It's just completely redeeming. So like your 20s are awkward and you're evil, and your 30s are like reflection and still kind of evil, and your 40s is like reflection and correction.
Yeah, it seemed like I had to get to that age.
That's what I'm saying. We all have lessons
it
to
all
learn, and
together.
it takes time.
I think there's several even in my meeting. It seems like they got sober about the same decade in life.
Okay. Yeah. And just because you got to, Mr. Lovell, love that man. He's the greatest leaders I've ever had. Band director when I was in high school. And above our double doors to the entrance to the band room it looked like an Indian word because it was all together. It said, "You gotta wanna."
Yeah.
And through the military, that still rang true. And like that's when I was really glad to be a part of the marching band, is because that was structured and I was part of a team. And I, as an only child, don't understand what it's like to have siblings and not a close family. So there wasn't that network, you know? So anytime I was part of a team or was included, like, boom. So like, you know, that's how I was just smart enough not to be a part of a cult. You know what I mean? Like, because that's how they get people in cults, is people that just like feel low about themselves, and like now people listen to them and they want to help them out and whatnot. You know, like because every human just wants to be validated, and that's what I realized. You know, one of the biggest epiphanies with me is like I want to be validated. Because when I was a child, you're just a kid. Your opinion doesn't matter. Like whenever you spoke up, it doesn't matter. You get what you get.
Did I do good or didn't
And
I?
so yeah, so there was a long time. I'm still dealing with this to this day. Like someone cuts me off in traffic, you know, like I used to just get really slighted, you know, like because they just invalidated me. But like you just got to realize that you can't take stuff like that personal. It had nothing to do with me. They're in their own head. They've got their own agenda. They're doing their own thing, and they just are trying to, and they're being a butthead about it, right?
Yeah.
So just stuff like that. So that's the whole like, and now like I said, now I got God on my side again, and just trying to be faithful.
That's the best place to seek validation, because that's the only place that'll never change, and that's the most genuine validation you can get.
And God does that. God reminds me that I am important. He has purpose for me. And that's why. So like right now I feel my purpose. Like I said, we're doing the food pantry. And we still volunteer at our food pantry at our previous church too. They do theirs once a month. And it's like a drive-through deal, and there's a clothes closet and stuff, right? And yeah, we're out there, and they're like, how many people in your household? And then like, we have grocery bags that have like a 1 with some ingredients, right, and then a 2, right, and then they get like some produce, which is usually some like onions, because they're actually sponsored from the food bank. But my food pantry is a lot smaller, and we're not sponsored by the food bank yet. We were partnered up, but even in these times of woe, like even the food pantry is running out of food. You know, and they're the ones that are supposed to supply these food pantries, which are a lot of churches and organizations in the area, you know. And so that's been rough too. So like a lot of times, but our church is really good. So like even though we don't have like a fund or whatnot, our minister will set aside money, and like when we start getting low on stuff, he'll go to the grocery store and he'll go buy a bunch and bring it. And then when we come in Wednesday evening before we open, Michelle and I, there we are, we're like, oh, look at this. And then we just start stocking the shelves, like, because God will provide.
Yes.
Just like I was talking about Luke 12 yesterday, man. Like, God will provide. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. You can go fishing in the sea and catch a fish that has a piece of money in its mouth.
Exactly.
So,
Big old gold bar. You're like, what?
yeah, I guess no matter how you make your living nowadays, it's healthy to still consider it that way. It's like, how am I just able to wake up and go to work and make money and come home?
Yep.
Like, basically all I did was show up and I'm able to do these things.
Yeah,
It's a miracle.
it is.
It's nothing on me. I could go get hit in the head and forget how to do it just like that.
That's true. You can't wipe that clean, too.
It's all
Like
all
the
provided.
internet.
Just it's a great experience for me to get up and go do it and not just be given things.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not that healthy for me.
Right.
But every time I'm doing the right things, like you say, you're still doing the other food pantry, even though you don't belong to that place anymore. Like it's
Yeah.
just an indication of that's what you're rad at.
Yeah.
That's your place that was designed for you to fill.
It's our passion, and we
Purpose.
still they still have like ladies luncheons, and they have men's breakfasts and stuff, you know, and they still have other like side activities that we still do, but we just don't worship there. Like we have our other church that we go to Bible study on Wednesdays, and we go to church on Sunday.
That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that's you just got to be rad at what you're good at. You got to find what you're good at. A lot of people don't do that. You know, people like waste their talents. They go their whole life just living in a box, not even realizing like they have a passion, but they never pursue it.
Yeah, that's it's
fine.
non-negotiable. You have to take steps and actually do what the thing is.
Indeed, that's why I like you follow your passions. Mark's still making music. You know, like that's just
that's
what
awesome.
he loves to do.
That's his thing for sure.
So now, like
He's good at it.
He is. He's really good at it. And so now you got your podcast here, and this is really successful as well.
Yeah.
You know, like you found what B Rad is rad at.
Yeah. Me messing with all these gizmos.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of knowledge you have. You already have. I don't know how any of this works. So like that's
So this is overcomplicated.
tons of knowledge.
Yeah. At the time, they didn't have one machine that did it all, and then since I started this, they come up with a machine that does it all. So
Hey, that's even
I've
better.
considered consolidating to that machine, but this one's set it and forget it right now.
Good.
Yeah, and
Stick with what you knew.
I started out with what I have. I had just a phone camera,
Yeah.
but then I realized, hey, my voice isn't very loud with just a phone microphone. So I went with these to bring my voice up, and so on and so forth. I just chased that rabbit down the hole.
Yeah. That's good.
It's my thing. I don't know exactly what it's all about. Like maybe I'm doing this like for a charity my whole life, and that's good. It makes me feel good to do a podcast and to produce one and to put it out. Just all that by itself, I get feel goods from doing that.
That's awesome.
It's cool that there's potential to make money at this stuff nowadays.
Yeah.
I always get hung up like watching the people that do it way better. I'm like, oh man, I wish I could do it better. But I've also learned all these things that you want to choose to do, you do them in your way.
Yeah.
And that's better. That resonates with people more than ever now.
Because it's genuine.
You know if I'm phoning it in or not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's good. You've learned a lot of lessons right there.
I learn a lot doing this stuff.
That's good.
I learned more about you that I didn't know.
Yeah.
You learn something every time about a person when you listen to their podcast.
Right.
It's pretty awesome.
That's wild. I've never, like I said, I don't listen to podcasts, because
I
I've
think it
never
just
talk
starts-
radio.
Just if you have a person that you really admire, just go try to find a podcast with them. and then you.
See what they have to say.
That's more what it's about, more than I like podcasts. It's I like that person, and I want to learn more about that person.
Right on.
I don't listen to everyone, even some of my favorite hosts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't listen to every single one they do.
Right.
Sometimes it's the host that I admire, but a lot of times I'll like thumb through podcasts and be like, oh, I want to know about that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll watch it. My other suggestion is to listen to them while you're doing other things.
I've heard that too.
Like there's times too when you can just like sometimes I'm so interested I just want to watch that. Like I want to hear every word they say.
Mm-hmm.
Other times like maybe I've heard them speak before. I want to hear them speak again.
Right.
But I want to do the dishes. And I don't
Okay.
just want to waste my time doing dishes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll listen to some more of what they have to say. So that's what
It's a good-
podcasts are for to me.
It's a good idea. You can do it during chores.
Yep. Rote tasks, they
Rote
call
tasks. Yes. Yes.
it. I learned that word as a result of listening to podcasts.
Necessary evils.
Mm-hmm.
Just living
Driving,
life. Yep.
whatever. So I listen to a lot of them riding back and forth on the bus. It's an hour bus ride each way.
See, so that's good. That's really good. Yeah, I know people listen to them on the way to work and all that, but like, I don't know. I don't really want to listen to people talk. That's just not for me. I've never been interested in talk radio. Ever. I don't watch interviews. You know, like stand up comedy is the closest thing to a podcast I've really ever done. So when you
Well,
asked
that's
me
cool.
to do one, I was like, you know what, I'll see what it's about. I'll watch yours. You know.
Yeah.
So I'll be
Yeah, you're
honest. I don't watch
One
them
of the
all.
first people to like all my stuff. Be
I
probably
do.
my mom, and then you, and then
I'm a big fan.
yeah,
I'm a huge fan.
yeah. I have
like-
other friends. They always tell me like I don't get to see who likes it. I
Oh,
just
really?
see the count.
Okay.
Unless you leave a comment,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that you were there exactly.
Well, maybe I'll have to start leaving you like a thumbs up or something.
Yeah, sure.
You know I was there.
Yeah, that's awesome. The thumbs up I don't get to see either. You have to actually leave a comment from you.
Well, no, I'm saying like if I put a thumbs up in the comment block.
Oh yeah, sure. Yes, yeah.
Then you get two thumbs up.
'cause there's the like
Hey! Yeah, I know.
But you're talking about
But I'm talking about like just
Yeah.
throwing a thumbs up in there so
the
you know I'm
second
here.
level effort thumbs up.
Or maybe I'll just put HOR.
Yeah, there you go.
How's that?
Sure.
Just put HOR. Then you're like, oh, Jeff was here.
Yep. That has your username. I know what that is now. So,
Yeah, it's easy. It's AOJDR.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
really
that's
easy. You
cool.
know why? So here, you want to talk about turn of the century internet, you know, coming into from this podunk town to the real world, right? I was talking to my recruiter on the phone. I was in A school, right? And he's like, hey, how's things going? Blah, blah. I'm like, good. He's like, oh, you got an email? I was like, nah, I never really needed one. It's like, you should get one. Like now, you know, that like times are changing. Like it's a communication. And now that you're in the Navy, you're going to need to correspond with different people and all. I was like, all right, cool. He's like, especially me, you know, like, so you save us money on calls. We'll just email, you know. I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'll see what this email thing's all about. So I went down to the internet cafe, right? It's just they have like a little coffee shop, and then it's like a huge area just computers, because that's sailors. They got nothing to do. You're stuck here on base. You don't have a car, you know, you're freaking 18, 19, 20 years old. So like I said, the internet's still kind of new. Anyway, sorry, long story short, I was like, what am I going to pick for username? And people were picking all these random ass things, right? And I'm like, I don't know. And I was like, you know what? I'm an A school, right? And my initials are JDR. So I was like, you know what? AOJDR at
that's
yahoo.com. Like, and I've never changed it. So for
Yeah,
last,
send them an email, guys.
yeah, send me an
He
email
just-
if you like. Spam me.
Nobody ever watches it, so
Watches what?
this.
You got tons of people watch this, me included.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I might not watch this one though, because it's kind of weird watching yourself. How do you feel about watching yourself on camera?
I've learned how to act a little bit differently.
Really?
Yeah.
Right on. As far
It's
as what,
actually a good teaching tool to see how you speak to other people and listen and all that good stuff.
yeah,
So it's been a tool.
you get to study your mannerisms, right? Like a playbook.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I will watch this then.
I learned how to be quiet so the camera doesn't switch to me as much.
Oh, so me like commenting like, yeah, is that gonna make our camera like go all crazy or what?
It keeps it from being too stale.
Yeah.
Stale.
Click,
Stale.
click. I know we're easily amused.
Yeah.
The original Beavis and Butthead, ladies and gentlemen. The original Beavis and Butthead.
That's funny you talk about like having to pick a email later in life. I think people are born with them now, along with their social security number. People that were never without email. I forgot that we started out without them. I remember that time too where it came like, yeah, you need to get on Yahoo Messenger or whatever, MSN Messenger, email.
Mm-hmm.
My email is bradleybegood@hotmail.com. That
Yeah.
was another person out doing shenanigans that used to call me Bradley Be Good.
Nice.
But
Part of your history.
Yeah.
Hey, history.
people always like to call me Bradley
Really?
or B-Rad even. It's maybe easier to say than Brad. I'm not sure, but there was that day, speaking of figuring out how to name stuff, like the videos I did, I'm like, what am I going to call this channel?
Right.
It just came to me like a lightning bolt. B-Rad at something.
B-Rad at something.
And that reminds me to be rad at something,
Yeah.
but it's also my automatic message to anybody watching, be rad at something.
And that's why I like watching these, is because you have a lot of interesting people that are talking about different walks of life. And when I was in the Navy, it was weird, man. Like, I don't know, human beings can be so mean, but I've always been that way. I've always been curious. Like, who are
Mean?
you? No, not mean. Curious.
Okay.
Like, who are you? Where are you from? What do you know? Like, because you can learn so much stuff from so many different people. Like, I had this one dude on my first shore duty. He was from Haiti, and like, I learned a lot about Haiti because he was cool like that. You know, he knew I wasn't ignorant. I wasn't asking stupid questions. Like, I really legitimately, culturally wanted to know.
Yeah.
But there was certain people in the Navy that like ask questions that just would like shun me. Like, why are you so nosy? Like, what do you ask me so many questions? My bad. Like, I didn't mean anything by it. I was just really, literally just trying to get to know you. Like, remember in Forrest Gump, I was like, hey, Tex, he was from Cleveland,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And then blah, blah, blah. It goes through the names. And that's real. Like, I could remember, well, a lot of people are important. I can remember generally who they are and where they are from.
That's cool.
Like, and that was just a big part because they're from all different parts of the country. So I learned all kinds of different slang, you know. I learned about all the different kinds of foods. And then not only that, there's so many different, like I said, Haitian, all the different cultures that I met too. Like their dialects, their foods, their world, you know. And at the same time, I was gathering historical data without even realizing, you know. So like learning different cultures is one of the best parts of history that I like, is I like learning about people and where they came from and how they became that way.
That's
'Cause
awesome.
everyone's got a story to tell.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you don't have to be rich and famous. You know, a lot of them stories are actually quite boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this. I treat this as if it's a world famous podcast. Like, I really am
Exactly.
interested in what you have to say. I really think other people would be, so I put it out.
To the world,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that. Yeah, actually, like I said, my wife went to church yesterday, and then he was like, "Where's Jeff?" And I'm like, "Oh, he's doing a podcast in Nevada," and he was like, "Oh, tell him I want to watch it." So like,
Right on.
yeah. So I'm gonna share this with him.
Yeah.
He said, so Michelle, she said, so keep it clean. I was like, yeah. I guess I heard somewhere anyway on YouTube, like if you cuss or in your podcast or you cuss in your videos or something, like they don't show them as often or they hide them or
I
something.
think they started bleeping cuss words out.
Did they?
I think they might even demonetize. I have no idea about monetizing anything.
So-
I don't make a dime for this.
Right,
But,
right. This is just for Be Rad to
yeah, I
be
don't-
rad.
You have to have a certain amount of viewership.
Okay.
Like, I'm on the slow climb,
See, that's the thing though. You're climbing though.
right?
You know, more people. Like I
I
said,
figured out how to get this far.
Yeah.
I could
and
use some professional advice to get further, but this is where we're at. This like keeps it genuine and fun. I realize if I need the rest to come, it'll come.
you're saying before you sell out and it becomes fake, like
Yeah.
everybody else does.
But like right now, I have all the money I need to fund this.
Yeah, that's
Like,
good. I'm
it
so
doesn't
glad.
matter exactly that I don't get paid. Like doing it is a lot of payment. And that's how your thing should be in the beginning anyway. It
Right.
should be that you can't stay away from it.
Yeah. Then you start from the ground floor,
Yeah,
and you build your own empire.
You follow the path wherever it leads you. You try to stay with your core thing that you began following. Mm-hmm. You pay attention to whether it's still giving you the feel goods,
Right.
because that means you're going the right way.
Yeah, exactly. And you're still motivated to do it
Yep.
because it's hard. Sometimes projects you just lose focus, and it's
And
easy
this is-
to put them in the wayside.
Pretty tedious stuff.
Yeah.
Like we'll get done with this and I'll go listen to the whole entire thing again.
Right. And then
And sometimes
edit.
we'll have to cut pieces or whatever in the middle, and sometimes I have to listen to it more than once. So in order to make it through those kind of hurdles, I got to be passionate about this stuff.
And that I'll tell you right there. In my opinion, that makes you an artist. because you have to really do that. So like just like from what that sounds like, the chopping and editing and all that, that's really interesting. And I bet that's a lot of hard work. Like you're talking about, you listen to a segment and then maybe like we talked about religion in the middle and the end, but not the beginning. And then now you can kind of freeze frame to roll everything into one.
I can. I tend to let the flow stay as it was.
Okay. Okay.
I might go in and, like, if I totally stumble or have a big pause in what I'm saying, I might cut the pause out to where it's like I just was talking at a normal rate
Right.
to not, like, detract from the podcast.
Good.
So there's a feeling of flow of the whole entire podcast that I feel while I'm watching it, which I'm sure normal people feel when they're watching things. It's like,
Right.
this should keep moving at a certain rate.
Right.
And I'll stay interested. But if something happens, gets hung up in the middle, that'd be like you'd like lose focus and click off and go somewhere else. So I kind of more like edit it to fit that purpose.
It's good. It's good. That's like I said, that's in my opinion, that's art. Just like a movie director has to do the same thing and all that. You know, the editor, like it's a lot of hard work has to go into that.
Yeah, I understand the other part you'd be talking about. Like if we were making a movie and this part has to come after this part, and it didn't happen in the right order, so we would rearrange it. I have actually done that. Like I made a music video,
Right.
the 5-2-10 music video I made.
5 to 10.
That is not in the order that it was filmed, but
Okay.
it was in the order that the project called for in my mind to make it all make sense. And that was hard to get through because you're trying to listen through it and get to that final part where you're like, oh, it's done.
Right.
And in the meantime, you're trying not to lose focus because it's not done. You're like, oh, this hurts to go through this part because it's not right yet. And sometimes I've got the beginning and end kind of wrapped up, but I can't listen to the whole thing one time through because this middle's so screwed up. And I just have to keep picking away at that until finally, all right, I can make it through this whole thing now. It seems like it's done. So that one took me probably a week or so.
Okay.
And
That's
all
good that
on
you
my
figured it out though.
All on my phone. Like
Wow.
almost microscopically cutting a second or less than a second, a tenth of a second
That's
out.
editing right there, sir.
So in order to have that much passion about something, it's got to be the right fit.
I
And
can
that goes
understand.
for every single passion.
Yeah.
History,
History.
everything.
Well, like, so I completely understand what you're saying because when I write papers, like I said, when I actually took my time, you're writing, you got a strong intro, you know what you're going to talk about, and you're just like, bam, 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 bam. And then you get to a part, you're like, you kind of touch on some things, and you're like, and you get through it, right? And then, like, you finish it. And then, like, you might finish strong, the good conclusion and your last finishing statement. But there's that little area that you're like, not really sure. But then you can come back to it and tweak it and peak it. And then it all, like you said, it's flow. And that's writing papers for me sounds exactly like what this is to you. With the editing and whatnot is like you have that insight, you have that creativity, you have the knowledge. And that's
Crazy drive to keep working on it until it's done.
Yeah, you can watch your videos. I mean, from the beginning to modern day, and you can see the different changes that you've made, and you can see, and I mean, you're B-Rad, and you're just getting radder at being rad.
Yeah. My second video was the greatest video of all time. So there's a telltale sign of what I should be doing.
Right.
Building a garage and the guitar and making fun of myself. That's the easiest video of mine to watch.
You think so?
Well, I think the likes and the subscribes and shares speak for themselves as far as that goes.
I guess that's true. I like
And
that
I
you
was in the best state at all points working on that project.
Okay.
That was me in like 100% flow state, rare form, positive attitude, all of it.
Nice.
I even wiped that video out, half of it, and had to rebuild half of it from scratch.
Oh wow,
So
that took some work.
if you're that driven to do something in any category, that's your category, like it or not.
Right.
It's like there's plenty of categories and projects I lost interest and never returned to them. But that one, it's the same kind of work, but I made it through. I ended up with a finished product, and it did well.
That's good. I'm really glad that you did that because you know what? I have like 3 or 4 stories that I got the idea for, and I wrote all the notes. Right, I'm going to write this story. Because I like writing short fiction, short stories, right? You know, like, and I have one that I wanted to be like a novel, but it's not going to be nearly long enough. So it's going to
that
be
novel
a
you've been
short.
working on now?
Yeah, you that novel you've been working on? Yeah.
3 years?
I've actually been working on this one since '09.
Wow.
Because like that's when I first started learning about like the genre of dystopian fiction, and like I look at the world around me, and like especially when you're in the middle of the friggin' ocean on a naval vessel where you all wear the same uniform, you eat the same stuff, you work the same job. Like, tell me that's not like dystopia. Literally, is dystopia. Not always getting this dystopian mindset, and that's what got me reading all the classics: 1984, Brave New World, Fahrenheit 451, like craziness like that. But my eyes were open to that. And that's, like you said, passionate about that. So I was playing Bioshock, the original Bioshock, and I was playing just do. And then all of a sudden, like you said, that idea, that bulb, right? Boom. I was like, whoa, what a weird plot twist. And it made me think of this story. So yeah, so what I do, I put the controller down. I went and got a pen and a pad, and I just started writing like my idea for the story. And then like that deployment came up soon, right? And I was just working hard on it. And you know what? I haven't really touched it since like 2017, and even then, that was only like some minor like updates and whatnot. Because now, like, as I'm a better writer now, and I'm like better at English, so I'm like correcting stuff. So I can change it, bro. I changed it from third person to first person. So changing everything. This thing was like 30, 40 pages long already, and I had to change it from third person to first person. But once I did that, I liked it better. Like you said, you get a different perspective, you get a different angle. So instead of like this guy, blah 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 blah. It was like, he was like, he woke up screaming, right? Like the intro is like, he woke up in a panic screaming. Like lack of discipline leads to disorder, right? And like that's how it begins. So then I was like, wait a minute. I said, no, I woke up in a panic screaming. And then you just go from there. And when you make it I, like people now, it's more relatable than he, and then he did this, and then he did that, and then you're just following some dude around. But like this other guy, when it's more like monologue, like the movies, I didn't realize this till like I was older in life too. It was like I like a lot of historical drama, obviously, like a lot of historical movies, but movies that have a monologue, you get their inner monologue while like the scene is going, or like after there's not two people talking, and there's like a beautiful. And they're giving you like, well, I felt this way about it, right? Like, I love that because that immerses you, like.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so hard to put books to
movie
is because there's so much more details in the book. So like, I'm glad for like streaming now is because now a lot of series that were movies, now they're making a whole series about it. So now you kind of get the whole book.
Yeah, that's cool.
Some things actually kind of go chapter by chapter too. So that's pretty cool.
The only thing I can think of, if you're trying to write a book and you can't quite put it together into a book, maybe there's lots of people that could take your stuff and make it the book. If you can't quite jump that hurdle. But I hope you keep collecting the parts to it so that can happen someday.
I do. I got a couple different ideas.
I don't think the idea that you should write a book is wrong. I think that's your idea that you should accomplish in life.
Right.
That's your thing.
It is. That's what now that I'm not doing like anything really academic, I need to do academic stuff for myself in my off time, not just let it all fall to the wayside.
Maybe that could be your time
to do
some more of that.
Actually what I think I might do is pick up the Great American Novel again, right? Write that Great American Novel.
Just make it whatever it turns out to be.
Write them stories. And you know what? I might take these stories and try to sell them to magazines or get printed, because then I can be like, hey, look, magazine no one's ever heard of, but look, here I am, Yeah. That'd be an accomplishment for me, I think.
I've had little nuggets of success like that along the way.
Yeah.
Like obscure things, but I got to know that happened. Like the universe accepted what I did, and someone else accepted it and celebrated what I did. Yeah. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
That kind of spurred me on to get to where I'm at today.
Is it that one of the sparks?
The only college degree I have is a result of that happening. Like I made a song one day on the computer just because I liked it. I uploaded it. Someone else liked it and made it into a bigger song. I sent you that CD that's on.
I do. I still have it.
That's my magazine that I appeared on at one time that nobody's ever heard of. It's still on Spotify.
Yep, exactly.
But that
Still out there.
that changed my life, and I took it a step further. Went through the school to do production, and got that little certificate.
And that's
So
awesome, bro. Exactly.
And
See,
I
that
still
you
get
followed that passion and you knew you wanted to get better at it.
I still get the little shots, even doing this.
Yeah.
The one shot I've learned that I need to recognize is I feel it inside too. There's this little endorphin hits. The what do you call that? Dopamine hits.
Dopamine
I don't
hits?
know. Whatever all that system is, I
Yeah.
get that from
You
even
get-
struggling through this video editing stuff.
Really? Even though it frustrates you, you still
Yep.
got that dopamine to be
Yep.
like, I'm going to keep on going.
There's like a monkey on my back. It's like, have you got that done yet? Are you gonna upload that yet?
Right.
You getting this done? Come on, work on this some
And
more.
that's good that you have, because that's the thing too. You can make these videos all day long and like, I'll edit it later. I'll edit it later. Me, I started these stories like, I'll do it later, and then never touch it again, you know?
I made this pretty easy for myself. It all goes to my phone, and that's where I edit.
Okay.
So that file goes with me everywhere I go because my phone's with me everywhere I go. So I don't have to sit in a certain place and turn a computer on and edit just there.
Right on. You got more mobility, literally.
Yeah. I just kept refining this and made it easier for me to end up with a finished product with the least amount of effort.
Right on.
That's kind of my skill in life, is to take something, refine it, and make it like hands off.
Okay.
So when I built the sound system for the haunted house,
Yeah.
it started out very hands on. Like like I had to do it. I was the only one that knew how to do it.
Yeah, because you had
first
the
go
idea.
around.
You were the
'Cause
engineer.
You had to turn
and
this
if you-
on, and you had
yeah.
to start this song at this minute. Then you had to turn this on and put it on repeat, and you had to push play on this cassette recorder, and blah blah blah, on and on. And then at night you had to undo all that, and you had to do those very certain steps the same way every single day. But then it evolved to, okay, now these are all on CDs on the CD player, and it's on a carousel. And you just hit play. And then it evolved to, okay, now these are all sound effects in one individual amplifier that goes to one individual room. And you have to come in and turn it on at 7, turn it off at midnight. And then it became, here's a timer. It turns it on at 7, it shuts it off at midnight. You don't even have to be there anymore.
Nice. I got timers on my lights too. They work really helpful.
Well, that's kind of a goal of an entrepreneur, is to take something and refine it to the point where they don't really need to do anything with it anymore, unless that's what they want to do every day.
Right.
But then if you have that first thing automated, you're free to move to the next. So I've done a lot of that. It's a natural inkling for me to chop through all this stuff and make it that way.
Yeah.
So here we are.
You definitely mentioned automated, like we were talking about being old school and all that. Yeah, Miranda Lambert has a song called Animated. Not animated,
Automated?
automated. Thank
Okay.
you. So in that song is awesome. She said, like, you know, you wanted to reach out to someone, you wrote a letter and put a stamp on it and waited 3 days later, you know, and then they sent one back to you. Like when we're talking about the email and all that before, the old fashioned correspondence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, technology and what you found how to do it, it blows me away because I mean I'm sure I could learn how to do this, but it wouldn't make any sense to me because that's not the way I'm wired.
Right. Yeah, we can all learn how to do almost all things, probably.
But to understand what you're doing is a
Yeah.
completely different.
Understand and stick with it. That's where we'll figure out. That's where the rubber meets the road.
Right. See, I like being an ordnanceman. It's pretty dang easy, actually. It's not really a hard job.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you could have been they called us knuckle draggers because you could have just be a big. Bayos were just big idiots back in the day. Just lift heavy stuff, you know. So, but it's different. Like they adjusted the ASVAB score. You actually have to be pretty smart to be an AO now.
Right on.
You can't just be like bottom of the barrel like other positions. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun. I mean, at first it was like cool, like warheads on foreheads, and it was like, yeah, I was in Iraq, and I wasn't in Iraq, but I mean, a lot of the bombs I loaded dropped in Iraq, you know, and it was like, oh, we believed we were doing something, and then now I'm like, I just helped kill a bunch of innocent people for no damn reason,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it
that's
sucks.
just something I got to live with. I mean, I feel bad for those in service that like physically actually shot and killed people, like. They were doing their duty, you know, and that's what was necessary at the time, you know. But then you look back and it's like, like there could have been a better way.
Yeah. When it's your duty, I mean, I believe that's acceptable in the eyes of God.
That's what I'm saying. You did your duty, and that's exactly what even like Romans and Romans 13. I don't remember. Romans though talks about you obey, follow your
Yeah.
rulers because God has appointed rulers.
Yeah. If you're right with God, you'll be right with man.
Yep. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You just totally summed up my whole deal.
It's quite a deal. And if you
Yeah.
get to where you don't feel like you want to do what the man's telling you, then I guess that's when you change and you follow your conscience and get out of that situation if possible. There's times that aren't possible. So you follow God, you get that armor beforehand. And when those situations come up, you'll do them the right way.
Amen.
God will know you at least worked on this beforehand and you tried as hard as you could. So like win or lose or fail, he knows the story.
Yep. Because
Judge
he
you
knows.
accordingly.
Yeah, because he knows our heart.
A loving father is how he judges.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's maybe some other misconception.
Yeah. A lot of people like taught it the wrong way for so many years, like to fear God. You're not supposed to fear him. You're supposed to like fear him like you fear your parents,
It's
a
a
repercussion.
respect.
It is. It's a respect. It's not just like be afraid. Like, no, don't be afraid. He's there for you. He'll take care of you.
Yeah.
That's his purpose. It's like, but he'll slap you when you need slapping.
Right. He has. He's given me some spankings.
No doubt.
And I wouldn't have learned without him. So
There was a meme back in the day I used to see on Facebook. It was like, I have a hard time. I learned the hard way, but not 3 or 4, more like 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes I did. I went through a few hard lessons multiple times when I should not have.
I got a funny story with my dad that raised me.
Yeah.
There was one time he had to give me a spanking because I did something really stupid. And my friend was outside the bedroom window, outside, with the window was open. He could hear what was going on. So my dad was like, "How many times do I have to tell you?" And I didn't know the answer. I literally didn't know the answer. So I said, 7? No. And my friend was out there. He was like, "Once." He's trying to give me the right answer. And I didn't hear it, and I didn't know it. And finally, I got the answer right after about 7 or 8 like
Whoopings.
smacks from the belt. Isn't that funny, though? I didn't know the
Funny, and
answer.
you didn't know the answer.
And my dad didn't know that I didn't know. He thought I was
Being a smart ass.
defiant. Yeah. And I bet I've put God through that too.
Yep.
But
Gotta learn the hard way.
yeah, both he was pretty merciful with me as a dad.
Yeah.
He did raise me in a way that made me turn out.
He loved you.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it.
And now I still need a dad in my life. And I found the best one is in heaven.
Yeah.
He'll be there.
He'll be
all
there.
the rest will
That's
go.
right.
We're all going to depart from each other. So we take what we get from each other while we're here. But we like follow God's lead. That'll never change. It'll never be wrong either. Man's guidance is wrong. My guidance for my kids can be wrong sometimes, even though I'm doing my best.
So you're doing your best, though.
But God's guidance will never be wrong. So I try to teach them to look up to Him more.
I think they do. Going to church yesterday with them was really awesome, and hearing Leah quote scripture and talk about God and whatnot, I was just like
Yeah.
blown away. Like 13-year-old woman there,
Yeah,
woman of God, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They have a great start.
Yep, you're giving them the head start. Because even say they while out in their teenage years or early 20s, and
They're
they
gonna
go
have to,
they
it
go into
almost
the
seems.
world and they go nuts, right? They'll come back, like because you already ingrained it in them. And a lot of times you come back to that.
Yeah. Yeah, they got a good beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine us at, like we were talking about, starting smoking cigarettes at 12 and
Oh
13.
my goodness. Yeah,
Walking around.
getting in trouble, trying to be cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I was Leah's age when I lived up there on Fifth Street. I was telling you, right? And I would literally go in the alley and I would smoke a cigarette, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I did the
How did
same
I get a
thing.
cigarette at freaking? I know how I got cigarettes, but I'm not going to put that out on the internet.
Yeah. I stole them out of my mom's pack.
See, my mom smoked lights, and I was like, that's gross.
Yeah.
I wanted some cowboy killers.
My mom smoked Merritts. I was not above stealing one. Then she finally figured it out. Like, but she caught me stealing them out of the ashtray one time. So I don't remember if she gave me one, a real cigarette.
There
But
we go.
I grew up in a smoking house. Everybody came to my house and smoked. You remember that, I think, coming to my
Yeah,
house.
you and I were talking about the other day.
There
The
was
culture
always a
of your
cigarette
house
lit.
was what really tripped me out. Was like someone was always smoking. There's ashtrays everywhere that had butts in it. But when I went to go, use the bathroom, and there's an ashtray in the bathroom, I was like, bro, there's like an ashtray in every room in this house.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was, but that was just like, that was the culture.
It's amazing how that changed.
It's wild how that changed. Now, like cigarettes, I'm just like,
I forget what year my mom quit, maybe 15. She got lung cancer, not directly related to smoking,
okay,
but she quit. She had a lobectomy and quit and has
Nice.
not started again. We
Awesome.
thought she wouldn't quit ever.
really?
Yep, she did, so I'm proud of her for that.
Yeah, I quit in 15.
I quit the last time again in probably 15. I quit by reading books instead of following that urge to smoke.
It got to the point where like I realized smoking was a Navy thing and it was a stressful thing and it was a drinking thing and all that. And then I met Michelle and she was just a blessing. So she brought a lot of peace to my life. So then I started realizing I'm only smoking at work. And then I actually went from like I had to lead to remember I went to the quality assurance where like I didn't have to really do much. It was a pretty skate job. And my stress level dropped. So I was like, it was Thanksgiving, 4-day weekend. And I realized I was like, I only smoke at work, So the 4 days I didn't smoke at all. So the next time I went back to work, pardon me. Next time I went back to work, I didn't smoke, and I was just like, I'm not gonna smoke. I'm not gonna smoke. What was hard is when I started when like a drink. 'Cause sometimes like the first sip of whatever you're drinking, your brain cigarette automatically, bro. And then the post coitus cigarette was always the best. That was always my favorite one. Always. So that was hard too. Like, well, I really want a cigarette. But, nicotine is like, you can quit opium, you can quit heroin, you can quit all that. But cigarettes, like, people go their whole lives without quitting cigarettes.
That's where I apply prayer and fasting. I prayed for help to be able to quit, and I did my part. I fasted. I didn't light the first one up.
Okay.
That's the one that always gets you, and whatever chemical you're addicted to, it's the first one.
Yes.
So prayer helped me not to, and fasting, I'm not gonna do it. Is the 2-part thing I have to have in place to quit anything.
That's awesome.
Otherwise, I just pick it right back up. So you pray to God for help for anything. He lightens the burden by a lot.
By tons.
Brings you people to help you. That's the other
Yes.
thing. Sometimes you need professionals to just give you that one idea. You're like, wow, okay, cool, I got this now.
And then you get those epiphanies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're like, thank you.
Yep. Like, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And when it comes back, you're like, please. And then you fast. And then you're like, thank you. And you give yourself some time. And then all of a sudden, it's not a physical craving anymore.
Right.
So that's like the deal. Like you and I drank the same and did everything the same, but I took to it a lot harder. And that's the difference between being an alcoholic or not. Because I have a physical condition going on. When alcohol enters my system, it triggers a phenomena of craving to where I want to drink until I run out, black out, or pass out, or go to jail.
Yeah.
And it happens every time I drink. I quit for 7 years. I had that first drink, I was right back at it.
Yep. Just straight to the deep end, right?
There could be heavy drinkers, there could be people that can pick it up and put it down, and I have never been one of those. I have always had this condition, like to the point of blackout from some of my first drinks. Like my first drunk being 14, I at least passed out, woke up in bed, not really knowing what happened that night. So I've never really had a normal drinking experience. Maybe one or two I can remember. I'm like, wow, that went well, strangely. But that would just egg me on to do more. But I'd always set out to only want to drink a certain amount and always overshoot it.
So I was talking to my mom about it one time because she was alcoholic. My dad probably still alcoholic, but I was like, oh, I've never been an alcoholic. But then come to find out, I mean, there's different types, like you said. So what I come to find out is when I drank, I was what you call a serial alcoholic. Is I didn't have to drink every day, and I didn't need to drink every day. But when I went out Friday night, yeah, I went balls deep. I ain't got pissed drunk, and that was just I couldn't have one. I couldn't just like you know, people like go out to dinner like, oh, I'm gonna have a glass of wine, you know, or like, oh, I'm gonna go to the pub and I'm gonna have a beer, you know, and they do. They have a beer, and then they go on their merry way, do whatever. Like, no, once I start, like, then the conversation's flowing, and then the music's going, and I'm like, let's do this. So yeah, so then just getting drunk.
Yeah, if I ever started, it take an outside force for me to stop.
Yep.
Or dumb luck, which is still an outside force if you think,
If you
on
think about
terms
it,
of
yeah,
God.
true, because God will.
I remember one time I was having a conversation, like, it was a spiritual conversation, and I was ranting and raving in kind of a drunken stupor. And I'm like, if you want to give me a message, you just tell me right now. And I walked right into a chain link fence. I was like, I didn't like walk into it, but I looked up at that time and there it was. It was like, well, here's your message. So I always had like this contact with the spiritual world, it seemed like.
That's cool.
I spent a lot of time by myself, talking to myself.
Okay.
That's what I found. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's no better person to talk through it than you.
yeah. Then I found out to have the God consciousness. So I'm not talking to myself.
No,
Never was
you were
talking to
You're actually
midair.
praying,
Yep.
not realizing.
So now I realize that's what's going on all the time.
That's awesome.
So-
That's really awesome.
That gives me all the answers and solutions that I spew to everybody else, even to you.
Even to me,
Heck yeah.
lucky me.
Lucky you. Well, man, it's amazing. We had more time apart in life than we've been together, but we still have just a strong bond.
That's the
I
thing.
was
though.
trying to think of a grand word kind of bond to call it.
Right.
Strong bond.
Strong bond. I'll take strong bond any day. But yeah, dude, absolutely.
Destiny.
Destiny. It was cool. It's just like friends in life. You're always gonna have friends in life. And then so Mark and I yesterday were just nostalgia and talking about people. And there's been times like, you know, Mike Off. I talked to him on the phone actually not too long ago. I haven't had social media and whatnot, but like him and I linked up and they just talked like old friends. You know, like even though it's been like 20 years since we even talked to one another, like literally. And then Chris Goff, you know, like we were friendly and we played football together and whatnot, but I wasn't really like friends with him. But I ran into him in San Diego in 2013, and he invited me to his house. And he took me out to dinner, you know, and we had a couple of beers. And it was a good time. Like, this is someone from high school, but like what I was explaining to Mark yesterday is kind of unique because like, was it two friends from high school or was it two sailors that just have common ground? You know, were we two sailors hanging out that have a past? But because I was telling him about the different people that I ran into when I was in the Navy, like Bart Crowder was an AO like me, Brandy Paisano was AO like me.
Yeah.
So like it's really interesting running into like this is a small town, you know, real small town. Like how did I statistically meeting that many people in the Navy from the same small town?
And
Like
then meeting my brother-in-law.
Yeah, that exactly
middle of the
in the
ocean.
middle of the ocean, bro. Like that's completely random. Completely random. So like
It's
I
all
said, it's a
planned out.
small a planned out and small world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, learning who Clayton was really, that was awesome. Like, I met your wife without you. You know, that was really,
yeah.
because you were home with Leah. So,
That was the
like,
first time you met her?
Yeah, I was
Oh,
meeting
yeah.
your in-laws.
Well, that's good. She could be her own person.
So, yeah, so I got to meet her. But it was neat because I was like, this is Brad's wife. Like, this is my buddy's wife. Like,
Yeah,
it was
that was
such a trip,
A
dude.
genuine her. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah,
She's a genuine person.
she is. I love Corey. She's great.
Yep.
You've done really well, my friend.
Most of my success, especially in the beginning, was because she was there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were put together, no mistake either.
Absolutely. I'm glad. I'm glad those stories, I mean, like I said, I'm on my third marriage. I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit it, but Michelle's my angel. And she keeps me level, keeps me afloat. I trust her, you know?
Right on.
So people, you and I mean, you and I are two peas in a pod, so it would make sense that our wives were very similarly tempered as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so
Heck yeah.
yeah. I'm proud of you, man. You got a good thing going, dude.
Thanks,
I'm
buddy.
really, your kids, like Leo being your little shadow just melts my heart. And then I see Bo, like, from the time I met him when he was like little, all the way to like now, you know, like he still like goes and curls up next to mom. Like, he's the sweetest.
Yeah. Yeah, I love them. They're great.
They are.
They're my favorite people.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. They're little yous, man.
Yeah.
You ever see sometimes they say something or they do something, you're like,
yeah.
I know exactly where you learned that from.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm able to teach them some good things
Absolutely.
these days.
Absolutely.
We'll give them a good foundation.
Yeah. You're smart too. Like, your TVs are non-existent.
Yeah.
You guys actually go out and do stuff.
Yeah.
And see stuff and like.
We've kind of like went back a little bit on that. Because like, you know, I mean, we're free to enjoy things in life too.
Yeah.
As long as they don't become destructive. So
Right.
we've gotten a lot more relaxed on some of that stuff.
Understand.
Well, we all have TVs in our pockets anymore.
I'll say, yeah, we all have exactly.
And
Yeah.
that can be bad. Like we could all be just watching our own thing in our own little places. But I'm not too hard on any of that stuff.
No, because I see how you guys are cool because like you guys have family time. Like, hey, let's all hang out, and then it's like, you know what, I want to wind down. It seems like at the end of the night, everyone goes and winds down and they go do their thing.
We're
And
sick of each other.
yeah, it's not even that. It's like it's almost as if like all four of you guys are introverts, and it's the end of the day, so you guys go recharge your social batteries.
I think we are.
Away from each other even.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't, you know, charge your... I didn't understand really what a social battery was because I was always like the extrovert. My wife's an introvert, but now I'm kind of an extrovert, introvert now. And I understand, like, like, for example, we will get up at like 7 o'clock in the morning, you know, feed the cats, hang out, like, go do our grocery shopping or go do whatever shopping or go do something, right, that opens. Oh, hey, let's get there at 10 when it opens. Because to us, by 12 or 1 in the afternoon, like, where we live, it's too people-y, is what we say. Like, there's too many people out. Like, who are all these people? Because Hampton Roads, man, the Hampton Roads, like, even just Norfolk, like I was telling you, the population of Norfolk is more than the population of Richmond, yet Richmond is twice the size of Norfolk.
Wow.
We are all stacked on each other, but all the cities are like that. Virginia Beach, so, like, yeah, there's like 2.2 million between the 7 cities, but the 7 cities is actually like a small collection of land, like... It's crazy. Like, imagine Elko County. Like, hell, Elko County is huge. Maybe it'd have to be like Spring Creek and like mix Spring Creek and Elko, right? The 7 cities and 2.2 million people.
Yeah.
Like, I
couldn't do it.
I can look down the street right now. There's not even a car on it. Like, you're not going to say that unless it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, when I work graveyard shifts, that was 11 to 7. I like going to work at 11:30. You know why? Because there's no traffic.
Yeah. That's why I
when
like being on night shift.
Yeah, and you get off work, guess what? Traffic's going the other direction.
Right.
Oh, I like
That's the
it.
number one reason.
Yeah. And
Night shift is taking its toll on me, though. I'm getting
I was going to
older
say, at
and
our
I-
age, it's going to be harder to do.
Yeah, so I got to figure it out.
But all the top brass, they work days. That's another reason I liked working nights.
Did you figure out that that's when all the chaos happened to everything that was in order? It
Yes.
seems like.
Yes, everything comes unglued during the day.
Yeah.
But at nighttime, we got a nice, smooth operation. We get all our work done. You know, the birds are loaded. Like, the maintenance is done.
Yeah, I'm a nights and weekends type of guy for that.
Because you don't have to. And plus, too, there's less people.
I enjoyed, like, I had to work a shutdown during the day this last summer. That was kind of cool, though, to go see how it all worked and, like, learn about these people I didn't even know.
Yeah.
So I like to dip my toe in it, but then get back out of it. I really got to be in the right mood to deal with people.
I can understand. You
Yeah.
got to be ready for it.
I barely feel good myself, so I have to feel good myself, and then I'll have extra energy for people.
That's an epiphany moment you just reminded me of. Man in the Mirror, right? Old Michael Jackson. And then Lil Wayne did a song also about, like, man in the mirror, you know? And then even in the end of the song is like, yeah, he said, MJ taught me that, right?
Yeah.
And, like, But what was the realization is, I don't know if you ever seen the show True Blood, right? But there's one of the characters that, like, she's just always picking fights. She's just, like, always just, right? And someone even calls her out and says, you know what, I bet you can't even stand your own company for 10 seconds looking in the mirror, right? And after that, it reminded me that, you know what, I probably didn't like who I was because I never looked at myself in the mirror. Even when I'm, like, shaving, brushing my teeth one on, I never, like, looked at myself. And now I look in the mirror, like, you know, when I get dressed one night, I look in the mirror, and I do. And I do that for affirmation now, is I will look at myself longer than 10 seconds and be like, yeah, you know, I'm good now.
I think I came from the other side of that.
Really?
I couldn't not see myself or not think my thoughts.
Okay.
So maybe that was some of the reason I chose the escape routes I did, is to just get the frick away from it for a minute. I had to learn to embrace it. It's a tool, so I might as well learn how to use it.
So you want to know a secret?
Okay.
Here's a secret. You're really, really, really intelligent. And hence why we are good friends, because I'm just barely discovering that, you know what, actually I do have a brain. I am kind of intelligent. But you know what the problem is? You know why we call them happy people, the ones that aren't blissfully
unaware.
That are blissfully unaware. Yeah, we'll just politely say that. Yeah, there's those people out there, and it's like we're haunted. That's exactly what we are. We are so smart that we are haunted. And then when you have something bad festering and you're really smart about festering bad stuff, what's going to happen? It's just going to snowball into this huge black hole and just swallow us.
Yeah.
And it did that time and time again.
That's one of the lessons in AA. They teach you to reach out and help other people.
Right.
That gets you out of your head.
Okay.
So that's the coping mechanism now that I don't have drugs or alcohol to turn to.
Help people.
Yeah, and that does work, because then I think about their problem and I'm all in it on how to
help them
be the solution for them.
That's awesome.
So that's the secret of that program, really, I think, in a nutshell.
Okay.
They teach you to have God be your CEO of your whole entire life.
Nice.
Like you would do what would please your CEO.
Right.
To make the company work right, you know, in a spiritual sense.
That's a good idea.
And what he wants you to do in his company is to go help other people with the things that you have.
Okay.
And so when you do that, he pays you with, like, thinking less about your burdens. Or you even make connections with other people. Hey, I got that piece you didn't have. Here's a solution to my problem.
Right.
So that's what that whole program turned out to be in a nutshell for me. That's the secret now. Go help others. It's trust God, clean house, help others is like the mantra, I guess. To make it simple.
Never heard that before.
That's what you get out of working the steps and working the AA program. So
That's really cool.
This is part of that today.
Yeah. I'm trying to you've heard it a million times, I'm sure too, like let go and let God.
Yeah.
That's hard to do.
It is.
That's so hard to do. So that's
Corey found this meme. It's like a whole wall of steering wheels. And it's like, this is all the wheels that Jesus took from me when I asked him to take the wheel. Like a whole entire collection of wheels on the wall, because you had to ask him so many times. Because you like forgot and took the wheel back, and then he had to take that wheel from you, and he just collects them on his wall. Maybe that's what happens when we get to heaven. We get to see our wall of wheels.
We'll have this wall of wheels
that Jesus had to take.
Yours is going to be a coliseum.
Yeah. No joke. Yeah, he does better. He does better.
Right on.
Right on, man. I think that's a good place to end this.
Okay, I was going to say, do you have any closing statements?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Just like a bye, see ya. And then the final music plays.
And the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right?
We got some beginning banter. I might throw that in. I used to do that. I got lazy and I quit throwing in the...
Like an intro to a show, kind of, right?
Yeah. I throw it in at the end, kind of a little nugget of like a blooper reel or whatever.
Nice. Well, do we have bloopers today, I guess? I don't know. You're going to catch me with some... that you're going to have to edit for sure.
I think we had some there before we officially said, hey, we start now.
Yeah.
Even this right now.
Right? Like, you could have even just, like, push play, and then, like, we could have just started talking, and then I would be like, are we recording? You're like, yep, for, like, 20 minutes now, bro.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Yeah. I thought that's what you're going to do to me, because then you're like, you ready to start? And I was like, let's go.
Yeah, I got the setup where I come in and I have it kind of hashed out, how to do it and get it done and get it out.
Word.
So But
Well,
yeah, this has
all
been
right.
great. This has been real today.
This has been awesome. Be rad at something. All right. I found history. Find your niche. Got it?
Right on, man.
Right
Thank-
on, brother.
thank
Love you.
Love you too.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet.
It's been an honor.
Right on.
Good, because I got to pee.
That was cool. Me too.
That was fun, bro. That was what really got me though. At first, I thought was I didn't really expect is like it's an interview. Like I don't think I've ever awkwardly stared at you in conversation for that long. Our entire relationship. We've always talked to each other like in a car, or like you glance over at something, or like we're talking about like this time like you're really professional and like I was like, damn, I just gotta keep looking him in the eye. Like I don't know what to do.
Me the whole time, I'm like trying not to have a prepared answer and trying to stay in the conversation but still be prepared to give an answer at any moment.
Yeah, dude.
Not forget what it was.
No, you really helped me keep it going on.
Right on.